Hello everyone, welcome to What If Belle Fell in Love with Lefiya and Filvis and Went on the Path to Redemption movie. Before we start, please go support Oscar Xperia 5991 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Belle is a male. Prologue. It was a checkmate. There was no way out. I had been defeated. I was standing before the god I had served, to whom I had dedicated everything. His look of resignation at having lost did not surprise me. TCH, how useless! His look of contempt directed at me really didn't surprise me. How much must you disappoint me before I'm satisfied, Filvis? I didn't answer anything. How many times did you ignore my orders? How many times did you fail to finish off Loki's children just because you were trying to save Lefiya Filvis and Belle Cranel? TCH. It was all I could say as I heard the god I blindly followed call out those names. That's why I'm cornering you, isn't it? If you can't be of use now, what use are you to me? Every word of contempt was thrown at me. I could feel my face cracking. I didn't have much time left. Dionysus Sama's disappointed voice. No. He doesn't deserve to be called that respect. My heart was pounding, struggling uselessly to stay alive. I wonder, what faces are they making? I'm sorry. A stupid and imbecilic follower. What a disappointment. My tears fell, running down my cheeks and finally hitting the ground. I regretted my decision. If only I had chosen them. If only I. GH! I could hear a small moan around me. I couldn't see its origin, but I did recognize its voice. Was Alice angry? At whom? At Dionysus or at me? No, it has to be at me. I haven't interacted with her much, so it has to be at me. I don't blame her. But you're still adorable. The proud god spoke at the same time he dared to touch my cheek, as if trying to repair something broken. Feeling his hand on my skin, a single sensation invaded my heart: repulsion. But I didn't have enough strength. I couldn't even remove his disgusting hand from me. So different from Lefiya's, and so different from Belle's. You are really stupid, Filvis. You were my Maenad. I made you cry. I broke you with my orders. That was more pleasant than anything else. Ah, how I adored you. What? I weakly tried to speak, but the proud and disgusting god would not shut up. That's right, your voice, the voice of your death orgy, drove me crazy, far more than anything else. In the end, it was my own failure to grant you too much freedom that led to this. TSK, how unfortunate. Anger, annoyance, frustration, regret. It was all I could feel at this final moment. I didn't want this. I didn't want the last thing my eyes saw to be that face of the man I had begun to hate so much. I just wanted to see them, even though their faces must only have hatred towards me. Still, I wanted to see them at least one last time. You must be proud, Filvis. My heart is yours. The bastard god said those words in a soft tone while smiling. The bastard seemed to want to have even more fun with me. That only made me hate him more. You are mine, Filvis. Yes, I would never let anyone else have you. Even when I return to the heavens, you must stay by my side. Gathering all the strength I had left, I slowly gathered enough breath to say a few words to her. It was painful, just breathing hurt, but I preferred to go through one last hell before that damn god touched me any longer. What disgusting! My words made him open his eyes in surprise. He should never have expected those words to come out of my lips. His face was funny to see. I guess it's a little personal satisfaction before I leave this world. Hey, Filvis? The disgusting god removed his hand from my cheek and took a few steps back. Double satisfaction. I will die without feeling his disgusting hand on my skin. Yo. It's useless. It's impossible for a single more word to come out of my lips. Still, it doesn't matter. I'm satisfied. That's a lie. My body was falling apart. My legs were the first to disappear, followed by my arms, and slowly the same would happen with my chest. Little by little my vision became cloudy. I couldn't see anything. All around me was darkness. I'm sorry, I'm really so sorry, Belle, Lefiya, thank you. That was the last thing Filvis thought before disappearing into small particles of light. leaving behind his earthly concerns, leaving behind that god who surrounded him. Dionysus had gone by his own hands, piercing his chest with the sharp steel blade that once belonged to Filvis. Whether that was a last attempt to mock her or a simple desperate act by a loser will never be known. The great pillar of light that announced the return of a god appeared, and an instant later the god was gone, leaving some final words to the deity and the mortals who were in that same room. The sounds of victory began to be heard, so many sacrifices, so many fallen, it was finally over. "Lean, guys, we won." It was the whispers of a goddess, the only sound that echoed in the room. At the same time that this was happening, in another part of the Knossos, light footsteps were heard. With a body full of wounds and on the verge of collapse, Ace walked slowly. Her body begged her for a rest that would not be granted until she found what she was deliberately looking for, walking for a few more moments until a familiar voice called her name. "Ace!" Raoul ran towards her the moment he saw her arrive. His voice began to resonate throughout the place, between questions, concern, congratulations for the victory. "For now we are going to cure you." Ace looked around, searching for someone, during which she was able to observe the reactions of the different adventurers after the victory. Everyone was wounded and exhausted. Some celebrated the victory, but some remained silent, trying to process the loss of a friend, comrade, or a loved one. Some smiled, imagining that now those they lost would join the funeral procession in the heavens. There were even some who took a small container of alcohol from their clothes, drank half of its contents, and poured the other half on the weapons of the fallen. Each person has a different way of dealing with grief. "I'll be right back." "Belle, is he here?" Ace's words prevented Raoul from leaving his spot. The young man could see the concern on the girl's face as she was unable to find the person she was looking for. "Rabbitfoot?" His expression changed a little and Ace noticed it. "I tried to stop him, but he didn't pay attention to me. It was obvious that he was very exhausted, but even so, once we won, he walked away down one of those hallways saying that he had to be somewhere else no matter what." "Belle." Ace looked in the direction Raoul had pointed at her. She tried to go after him, but it was useless. Her body couldn't take it anymore, and she simply began to collapse. Her family partner quickly supported her so she wouldn't fall directly to the ground. "Ace, you must rest and treat your wounds." With a little effort, Raoul managed to get her to sit down and lean against the wall. Ace didn't say anything. She didn't take her eyes off the place where Belle had gone. "I'll go get a healer. I won't be long." With those words, her family companion had left. The exhaustion of her body demanded that Ace rest, and that she did. Slowly she began to fall asleep. "I have to tell you that you saved me." Ace's words were just whispers that only she could hear. "I won thanks to you." His eyelids were getting heavier, and a few moments later they had closed his eyes. "When I see you, I'll tell you all this." With that last word, Ace had fallen asleep, unable to meet that boy who looks like a rabbit. "Filvis! Aye. Elsewhere, a young elf girl was crying, unaware of the voices around her, her tears falling on a young elf girl who fell into misfortune. The places where those tears fell turned to ashes. Her body could not hold out any longer. Her life was slowly fading away. The fairy freed from her cruel destiny would soon leave this world. "Don't cry, Lefiya, it's okay this way, it's better this way." Filvis smiled slightly. Her magic stone pierced by Lefiya's dagger slowly cracked more. Her life was coming to an end, and the mere fact of still being able to speak was a miracle in itself. "I can't feel my legs anymore, and my left arm will be the next to go." I was lamenting. If only I had listened to them. If only I had chosen them, none of this would be happening. But it's too late for regrets. I caused a lot of pain. I caused a lot of deaths. I caused a lot of sadness to everyone around me. We didn't know. We never really understood you. I'm starting to lose my hearing, but still I can hear you crying. Are you crying for me? After everything I did to you and Belle? Right, Belle, I wonder if you would also be crying for someone like me? Filvis's lips faintly formed a tiny arc, a final expression of happiness reflecting on her face. What a silly question, of course I would be crying, you two are too kind. I'm glad to be able to see one of you two before I leave, I'm glad. I could feel my tears starting to roll down my cheeks at the same time as his left arm had disappeared, turning into nothing more than dust. I'm sorry, my heart was in ruins. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I could do. Filvis. I was not strong. I am not beautiful. I never deserved the happiness that you two wanted to give me. I am filthy. I am corrupt. My eyes, now I can hardly see anything. You are like me, a weak elf who couldn't live without depending on someone else. Lefiya's words hit Filvis's heart hard. But he helped us change that. He made us change. Bell. Fragments of memories invaded his mind for the last time, their meeting, his words, all the times he had helped them and they had helped him. We made a promise. We promised that we would save you. It can't end like this. Filvis's eyes opened wide, although she could no longer see anything. Her tears continued to run down her cheeks at the same time as her lips began to crack. This is my destiny. This is my punishment. I deserve death. Each limb of Filvis had turned to ashes. In a last attempt, she moved her lips, trying to give her last words. I reject it. A loud scream was heard at the doors of the place where they were. Those present looked in astonishment at the young man who had arrived, full of wounds, with his blood running down his skin, with his snow-white hair being dulled by all the dirt of the battle. But even in that state his eyes burned with great determination. Bell? How cruel! Why did you have to arrive now, just when I'm about to disappear? It's unfair. I wanted to see you and at the same time not. I wanted you to see me and at the same time not. I didn't want your last memory of me to be in this state. Really, how cruel is destiny. I reject that destiny. I reject that punishment. I reject your death. Bell had begun to walk, dragging his steps, full of pain, completely exhausted, and yet he walked straight towards both elves. What is he doing here? His wounds! Did he walk with all those wounds to this place? Why are you going straight towards that thing? The words, the complaints, the doubts of all those who were also in that place watching him. But he just ignored them. Bell continued walking a few more steps until he fell to his knees next to Lefiya and looked directly at Filvis. Lefiya, even. I can hardly hear anything. What are they trying to do? Filvis' thoughts had become complete chaos the moment Bell appeared. She had already accepted her death. She was already prepared to die. Elf. Clang. A loud noise of bells began to resonate throughout the place again, drawing everyone's attention. Did you go crazy? What are you trying to do? The complaints were ignored, the bells rang everywhere, the white light began to shine more intensely. Filvis didn't hear anything. Her eyes had lost all their shine, everything that was left of her body was cracking. It was the end, there was no salvation anymore. Only a miracle could change such a cruel fate. Dia Orpheus! A large pillar of light completely illuminated the entire place. It was beautiful. The promise that both girls made. In that place, despite not being exactly what they were talking about, before them was the crown of light. I slowly opened my eyes. The sun's rays came through the window, illuminating the entire room. I had that dream again. I slowly leaned my body until I could sit on the bed. The sheets that covered me slowly ran over my skin gently until they stopped covering me. My breasts were exposed. Filvis. A soft whisper calls my name. Under normal circumstances I would have covered my nakedness, but I didn't. There was no need. Good morning, Bell. Sorry if I woke you up. Without waiting for his response, I turned my face towards that man and stole a kiss from him, which he gladly reciprocated. Good morning, Filvis. Ready for today? His tone was unsettling. He was nervous. I don't blame him. Filvis, Bell, why do you wake up so early? A small rustle resounded, at the same time as the sheets moved again. And slowly Lefiya also sat up, and just like me, the sheet left her body, revealing her smooth white skin, completely naked, with her breasts in full view of me and Bella. Sorry to wake you up. Bell was in the middle of us, and just like we did, he sat on the bed that the three of us shared at the same time. Our naked bodies were in full view, but none of us felt the need to cover ourselves. I wanted to keep sleeping. I apologize again. I won't forgive you unless you do something. I already knew what would happen. and yet I was always fascinated to see. Give me the same thing you and Filvis did a few moments ago. Those words that Lefiya pronounced were more of an order than a request. At the same time, she stretched her arms forward, waiting for something more, a hug. So you were awake, huh? Bell leaned his body towards Lefiya. Both shared a warm hug. Do you like kisses that much? It's just to be on equal terms. Bell has been playing a few pranks on Lefiya lately. I don't really blame him. Seeing their embarrassed expressions is really cute. You don't have to compete, I'll give you all the kisses you want. Jay, just shut up and do it already. They both kissed in front of me. There was no anger, there was no jealousy. As long as it is with Lefiya, the only other woman that Bell kisses, I will consent. I could feel my lips curve, producing a smile on them. Well, let's take a shower. Today we have something very important to deal with. Bell said those words as he separated his lips from Lefiya's. Both of them just smiled sweetly. Both of them looked so motivated. Really, how were they able to do so much for me? You're crazy, did you know that? It was my words that made them stare at me. Risking so much for me, I wasn't worth it, Bell, Lefiya. That's not true. Bell was the first to speak. You are irreplaceable to us, Filvis. It was Lefiya's turn to speak. Both of them approached me in unison. Both of them took one of my hands. That feeling of warmth fascinated me. In this world I am only able to tolerate those two touching me. Will you be with me? A slight fear invaded my mind, not for me but for them. Both had risked a lot for me and today they could lose much more. Will we always be by your side? What is this? They both synchronized to say the exact same thing. They both synchronized to get close to my face and kiss each half of my lips. Thank you? Those were the only words I had the strength to say. I still didn't feel deserving of all this love they gave me. I still didn't feel deserving of the new opportunity they gave me. It was unfair. Many died, but I lived. Lefiya rushed to hug me, our faces pressed against each other. There's nothing to be thankful for, Filvis. I promised I would save you no matter what or who got in the way. Bell's words were strong, full of determination. Who would have thought that the boy I knew would have turned into this great man? I could feel my face heat up from the blush that was born on it. I always loved to see that side of him, and I wasn't the only one. After all, Lefiya also had the same kind of blush on her face. A woman's blush as she sees the man she loves looking so cool. This is the story of the young hero who is willing to risk everything to show the path of redemption to the young elf who had fallen into disgrace by a ruthless god. Chapter 1. Small bird sounds could be heard on the other side of the window. The sunlight was dim but still easily passed through the glass, managing to illuminate the entire room where we were. The room where the three of us gave ourselves to each other with great love and desire the night before. Do you want to have breakfast first? I can prepare something quick before we get ready. Bell was the first to speak. The smile with which he speaks to us is something I have already gotten used to, and I hope it will always be present. My skin is in contact with that of my dear Lefiya. Both of us continue to share a light hug while we contemplate with our faces tinted with a light red hue the man in front of us. I would love to, but only if you feed me. I smiled at the little lie he would tell. I'm not fully recovered yet, and I have trouble moving some parts of my body. With all these marks you left me last night, it's hard to believe you. In front of us, Belle raised her arms a little and turned her torso slightly, allowing us to see several scratch marks and many hickeys on her skin. Oh. It was all I could say, at least I could, since Lefiya, whose small blush had become much more prominent, apparently remembered everything we did yesterday. How adorable. Although, now that I see you well, I guess it's only fair considering how you are too. Under my gaze, I can see that just like Belle, I also have various marks on my skin, collarbone, thighs, abdomen, arms. Many are concentrated on my breasts, and I can't know how many more I have in places where my sight cannot reach. Why, you two are perverts. I blushed even more. I felt my heartbeat increasing. When I looked closely, it was more than evident that the one with the greatest number of marks engraved on her skin was me. But especially you. Wanting to regain control, I smiled as I saw how our rabbit was now the one who was nervous. Why do you say that? For how you left poor Lefiya and me. I hugged our girl tighter, pressing her breasts against mine on the sides. You tried so hard to leave your essence on us. I'm sure that no matter how much we clean ourselves, any beast man will be able to smell you on us. What? With a smile on my lips, I could see Belle getting very nervous and starting to mutter about many things, as Lefiya discovered a new shade of red on her face. This is my little revenge for how they enjoyed my body mercilessly last night. Punishment. A soft whisper was said by Lefiya, only for her to point towards Belle an instant later and speak in a louder tone. Why you rabbit in eternal heat deserves punishment. Why? Belle claimed, but before he could say another word Lefiya broke away from my hug, which made me pout slightly, but I'll allow it. When the three of us separated, we could see that a small thread of a white, sticky substance still connected us, and Belle decided not to complain. I guess breakfast will be later, hee. Oh, of course it will be later. Lefiya's ears moved slightly as she raised her arms. Now carry me. Silence, that's all there was again for a few moments. Do you want me to? This is your punishment. Pick me up and take me to the showers so I can wash myself. Could it be that you can't feel your legs yet? I said that question as a simple joke, but it seemed that I had hit the nail on the head. The slight trail of vapor coming out of Lefiya's head due to her embarrassment gave her away. Wow, you really went overboard with her last night, honey. Pass me. Honey. Different reactions from both of them was what they said. With a slight smile on my lips, I slowly approached the man who saved me. Yes, you spent last night with us. We told you it was our first time, and yet you were still very wild. Subtly moving my hips along my path, I had reached Belle's chest, placed my left hand on it, and spoke directly into her ear. And it was incredible, thank you, darling. I gave him a small kiss on his subtly blushed cheek. Belle held me by the waist and I by his shoulder, only for him to pull my body towards his in a kind of hug and then give me a kiss on my lips. It's not fair. Lefiya's voice separated us from the kiss, but not from the hug. I'm in the middle of a punishment for Belle K. Both Belle and I realized that Lefiya had gotten nervous for another reason, and her calmer tone showed it. I'm punishing my RB Belle Coup. At that image, Belle and I looked at each other, smiled slightly, separated from the hug, so that seconds later he walked towards Lefiya and very easily lifted her in his arms, very similar to how they were described in the stories when the hero saved the princess. Although thinking about it a bit, Belle is our hero and we are his princesses. So I guess there is no difference. It's quite cute to see how it's still hard for you to call me in an affectionate way. I stepped aside so that Belle, with Lefiya in her arms, could get off the bed and stand on the floor of the room. But you don't have to force yourself to do it. Her words reflected great affection and due to the position they were in. It was normal for Lefiya to blush again. Even if you want, you can call me Rabbit. If you're the ones who say it, it doesn't bother me in the least, since you two are my beautiful fairies. Heartbeats. I can feel my heartbeat speeding up again, my face warming up and my smile becoming more noticeable, my whole being filled with happiness from his words. I'm not the only one. Just by seeing the expression on Lefiya's face, it was more than clear how much like me, those words, that way of referring to us made us fall in love with this man again. Why you are so... Lefiya's sweet voice echoed in our ears. At the same time, she was so close to our beloved that she took him by the cheeks and pulled him to give him a loving kiss on his lips. The seconds passed and that kiss showed no signs of ending. My body moved, I got out of bed and with one jump I landed on the back of our tender rabbit. Hey, don't forget me. I hugged his back tightly. It was wide. I could feel his already developed muscles, so different from when I knew him. You two always end up being very cloying. I pouted a little, not that I was jealous, not at all. As long as Lefiya is the only other woman Belle hugs, kisses or takes to bed with, I don't care. It was just that I didn't want to be left out. It was with that thought that I hugged him a little tighter, pressing my breasts into his back. Filvis. Yes, darling? Why, your breasts are... Are you going to act innocent after last night? Belle got nervous, and as for Lefiya, who was separated from his eternal kiss, I could see how he was going to complain. That's why I continued talking. Both you and Lefiya didn't stop playing with them all the time, having them in your mouths. They both seemed like tomatoes because of my words. It is truly a pleasure for me to be able to interact with them like this, for the first time in a long time. Since when did you become like this? With a slight stutter, Lefiya asked me. I looked at her over Belle's shoulder and smiled. It was you two who made me like this. I turned my face to stare at Belle. You better get moving, honey, or we'll be late. Why, yes. My words made him react, and with the two of us on top of him, he started walking towards the showers in his headquarters. The chimney mansion was large, although it was not the largest in time, it was of considerable size. But now it was just the three of us. The other members of Belle's family had left, and I hadn't seen them again since that. I still don't know how I will react when I see them again. They were very kind to me and I made them go through that torment, through that cruel battlefield full of death and desolation. I took Belle from them, and while I don't regret it, I feel like I should at least apologize. My mind was a sea of thoughts. Unconsciously I hugged Belle's neck and rested my head on his shoulder. He must have realized what I must be feeling, but he didn't say anything. Okay, we're here, Belle announced as he carefully lowered Lefiya from his arms, but not without her pouting a little because she wanted to be in that position a little longer. Let's clean ourselves up so we can eat something later and be ready to go to that place. Lefiya looked at me and held my hands in hers, her eyes filled with optimism genuinely reassuring me. The three of us entered the large bathroom of Belle's mansion. I admit that the idea of that girl from the Far East was really good. The first time I tried this place it was really nice. Since we were already naked, we didn't waste any time and began to clean our bodies, especially us. I may have said it as a joke, but it was possible that the beast man could smell us and perceive Belle's essence on us. Not that I care, but it's no good causing more trouble at this time. Belle was washing his hair a few meters away from us. While he was doing that, Lefiya and I took turns washing each other's bodies while we talked. After all this is over, what would you like to do, Filvis? I stayed silent for several seconds, searching for an answer, but I could only think of one thing. I don't know. I was honest. I really don't know what I wanted to do. I was thinking about dying to atone for my sins, but you guys prevented it. My wet hair covered my eyes, while light drops of water fell to the ground. The damn god I blindly served is gone. My family disappeared completely. I caused problems for both of them. I'm happy to be by their side, but sometimes I think they were better than me. That's not true. As if she knew what my next words would be, Lefiya interrupted me while firmly holding my hand which, without me realizing it, was shaking. Please don't try to say something like that again. I looked up, our eyes met. The only thing Belle and I regret is not having helped you before. Warm, a pleasant feeling of warmth surrounds my body. It was Lefiya who hugged me completely, and directed her face next to mine to speak directly into my ear. Forget everything that happened after saving you. We would do it again and again, as many times as necessary because we love you. His words, his hug, it was all too much for someone like me. I really am lucky. A few small tears fell, only to mix with the water on my body and go away with it. By the way, Filvis. Yeah? A slight silence separated our conversation. I took advantage of that moment to wipe the last tears from her face. I was waiting for my dear Lefiya's question. I'm sure it will be something tender, something pure, something. Have your breasts gotten bigger? It takes me a few seconds to react to that question. Huh! I unconsciously used my arms to cover myself. Why do you say that? It's because I think they've gotten bigger since I first saw them. I blushed at that. Had she noticed me since then? I'm strangely happy about that. Letting my nerves at the sudden question go, I lower my arms and look Lefiya straight in the eyes. Yes, they have. I smiled as I noticed how Belle pretended to continue washing her hair, but in reality she was listening to our conversation. I thought it would be Belle who would notice. Do you want to take her place as the most perverted in our relationship? I could see Belle pressing his chest. It seemed like my words hit him full force. But he didn't say anything. He knows it's the truth, and that was made more than clear last night, and from all the requests he made us. It's not that we refused, we even enjoyed it, but even so, he was the one who came up with the idea. How did you do it? Lefiya asked, revealing her true motive. She unconsciously held her own breasts while looking at mine, and subtly her gaze quickly fell on Belle only to return to me. I could only smile slightly at that. It must have been because of my new diet. Now that I'm eating meat, my body has more nutrients. I could see how Lefiya seemed to be keeping that information in her mind as if it were her family's biggest secret. Why do you want to know? Do you want to have bigger breasts? Lefiya seemed a sea of nerves when I asked my questions. Once again I had the opportunity to see that side of her, and I am grateful for it. These are the moments when I stop thinking about all the bad things I did, and I can clear my mind. I was just curious. She turned her face to the side, but she did it right in Belle's direction, which caused him to quickly change direction, making the reason for his questions even more noticeable. Besides, having big breasts must mean more difficulty when fighting in the dungeon. You're not going to be honest, are you? Well, there's a way for you to be. I don't really know that, but... I took a bucket of water and threw it over myself only to then get up. The water ran through every part of my naked body. I set my sights on my target and advanced. I'm grateful that you grew. After all, our rabbit seems to like it. I reached Belle and hugged him from behind, pressing my breasts on him intentionally. Filvis. Isn't that true? Honey. I bit his earlobe after my words. He shuddered in my arms. That was just right. This naughty rabbit did the same with the tips of my ears. Without being able to stop my hands, they began to run over his chest and abdomen. I could feel his strong muscles. What are you doing? We don't have time for this. Lefiya scolded as she approached us. I quickly moved my body, and this time I placed myself right in front of Belle, using him as a shield against our little girl with tsundere tendencies. And all without stopping to lower my hands. What's wrong with it? Lefiya had arrived, and just like I did a few moments ago, she stuck completely to Belle's back. I just want to satisfy our cute bunny. I smiled without stopping to lower my hands. I was about to reach a specific area. I can take care of enduring all that lust. After all, Belle likes big breasts, doesn't he? She silences him with a kiss. Our tongues danced again over each other in our mouths. The sensation was pleasant, but it didn't last long. That's not true. Lefiya pressed closer to Belle's back. He separated from our lips to look at her, but we were still connected by a thread of saliva. Belle also likes medium-sized breasts. Like yours? Yes. I say no. How funny it is to see their reactions, and it was even funnier when, with a big pout on her face, Lefiya started a fight with me. I could only start laughing while we both rubbed ourselves on our man's body, which had reached its limit. Please stop. With a calm but firm voice, Belle took us by our shoulders and slightly separated us from him. Now we both had him in front of us. There's no point in fighting over something like that. Both of your bodies are really beautiful, and I love you just the way you are. I love you both in every possible way. Belle turned his face slightly to look directly at Lefiya's face. I love you, Lefiya. With just those words, our little tsundere jumped a little. Your body is really beautiful, and I love how, even though it's hard for you to show your feelings, you are very honest with your actions. Lefiya seemed touched in my opinion. I don't blame her, but I would also like to. Filvis. I left my request unfinished, to see how he would fulfill it even without having told him by saying my name, while his gaze rested on me. I love you. I inevitably also jumped a little in my position. I share the same reactions as Lefiya apparently. When I met you, you were very reserved, but you changed. No, it's not that. Belle smiled, a smile that only he knew how to do, so full of light, so pure, so genuine. Now you show your true feelings all the time, and I love it. Silence. The three of us remained silent. In that place, the only thing that could be heard were the drops of water falling from our bodies to the ground. Both Lefiya and I looked at each other. Our faces were red from those words. We both just nodded and turned our heads to look at him. Nice words, said Lefiya as she stepped forward, moving her wide hips seductively. But that takes away all the seriousness. I also advanced alongside Lefiya, at the same time pointing to a certain area of Belle's body, all while intentionally leaning my torso to the side so that my breasts moved from one side to the other. What thing? Belle immediately looked where he was pointing, only to cover his crotch with his hands. You really are a rabbit in eternal heat. Lefiya placed her right hand on Belle's chest. I did the same, only with my left hand, and both of us slowly got even closer. I can't help it. Having the two women I love in front of me while we shower and our skin touches is... Sure, you don't have to explain yourself, honey, we understand. I gently used my right hand to silence his lips, only to then lower my hand, running over his increasingly defined muscles until I finally reached my target. I moved my hands away from that area so I could take it myself. Belle just let out a light sigh of pleasure as I began to move my hand back and forth in a calm rhythm. Lefiya, for her part, stared at him with great shock, embarrassment, and a big blush on her face. This thing entered us so many times last night. Gently lowering her hand, following the same path I took. I couldn't see it well because of the poor light, but now... Lefiya swallowed, and a second later she joins me. The union of our hands made Belle's gasps increase. He looked at us with great desire, at the same time his lips were half open. Lefiya and I looked at each other. After everything we've been through and done, there's no room for shame. That's why at the same time we both brought our faces closer to Belle's, joining in a loving kiss. The three of us were kissing at the same time. Our tongues brushed against each other, dancing in harmony, creating a sound that, to any other member of our race, would be obscene, but not to the two of us. Neither Lefiya nor I were pure anymore, all because of Belle. And as if he knew that I was thinking about him, he did something unexpected and extremely pleasant. I'll be but what? Both Lefiya and I let out a sound that no one but us should hear. The reason for that was simple. Our naughty rabbit placed his hands on our butts and squeezed them a little hard. He pressed a little harder, our smooth skin probably protruding a little between his fingers due to the pleasant pressure he was giving us. That made us separate from the shared kiss. Would you help me, Lefiya? Why, yes. They both conspired, both directed their gaze at me. They seemed to be voracious predators who had located their prey. And I was not wrong. What are you going to do? I couldn't resist and let go of my hand from Belle's member. Now it was their turn to use their hands, and boy did they do it. Both Belle and Lefiya had begun to kiss my neck mercilessly. With their hands they shamelessly played with the sensitive tips of my ears, and to complete their voracious attack the very perverts squeezed my butt in unison with the same force. They already knew my weak points. This feeling is so pleasurable. This feeling is something I could never experience with that damn god. I still don't know what the future holds for me, but for now I will enjoy this. I will enjoy the feeling of being genuinely desired and that I desire them. I will enjoy feeling loved and loving them equally. A louder moan escapes my lips when both Belle and Lefiya again took one of my nipples into their mouths. I sigh in pleasure at this. They are both very energetic when they let themselves go. I smile as I watch them enjoy my body. Why, you two are perverts. They both stare into my eyes, that pair of red and blue eyes that I will always love. I can't help it, you're so beautiful. Belle is right, it's your fault. Our foreheads come together as my gasps lessened. All three of our faces were completely flushed. I subtly look down. I see Belle's erect member. I see Lefiya's thighs together as she rubs them together. It was clear what they wanted. I can't blame them. After all, I wanted to feel it again too. Where is your former innocence? I asked without expecting any answer, and yet they gave it to me. It was exactly the same as they had said a few seconds before. It's your fault because you're beautiful. My heart began to beat strongly at his words. I let myself go, and just like them my hands began to travel over their bodies. I felt Belle's firm muscles. I felt Lefiya's thick legs. We attacked Belle. They both attacked me. Now it was our turn to attack Lefiya. Her sweet moans echoed loudly in the room. Both Belle and I began to lick one of her breasts at the same time as our hands ran over her thick thighs and took them to her crotch. She shuddered at our touch. Her sweat began to run down her face and body, slowly running down her body, and it became even more so when Belle and I knelt down and together we attacked her completely wet crotch. Belle and I used our tongues with fervor. Lefiya did not stop moaning. The very perverted, instead of covering her mouth so that we could not hear her, preferred to use her hands to place them on our heads and pushed us even more into her crotch. If our girl wanted us to go deeper, Who are we to deny her wishes? We spent several minutes in that position until we finally let her go, or did she let us go? It didn't really matter. As Lefiya gasped for breath, she noticed something in Belle, or rather the absence of something in him. Honey, don't move. Huh? What are you? I ignored his questions and pounced on him. The first thing I did was kiss his chest in a specific area, an area where one of our marks was beginning to disappear. Lefiya, with a little more breath in her being, saw what I was doing and surely realized my intentions, since without me saying a single word she joined my mission, marking our territory. If Belle did the same, why can't we? Once we had left our marks on her skin again, Lefiya, letting herself be carried away like the night before, took me by the hand and began dragging me towards the water. She moved her hips in a very sensual way, so much so that I couldn't help but look at them. Once we entered the water, which reached a little above our knees, he turned to look at Belle, who seemed like he couldn't hold out much longer. What are you waiting for to come, Belle? Her voice was seductive, and it was even more so for me to have her so close. Take responsibility for what you caused in us. I was tempting him. Lefiya was tempting Belle. I couldn't stay behind. For that reason I hugged her and stretched my hand in her direction. Come here, darling. Come and let's enjoy this moment together. I don't need more. Belle approached us with a firm step, entering the water and getting closer to us every time he spoke. I guess there won't be breakfast today. He came into our arms. Lefiya was the first to kiss his body. No, but we will eat something before we leave. I joined Lefiya. The two of us kissed Belle's body, going over her chest, her abs that we loved, and down her body. At one point Belle had brought her hands to the back of our heads, just to bring us down a little more. That was a good way to start the day. Ready? Belle asks us. We were in front of the great door of the chimney mansion. Once we leave this place, things could get difficult. This was an oasis, a safe place where I stay for a few days, but my time in this place is over. I'm scared. I don't say it, but my hands show it by shaking. Whatever happens, Belle seemed to notice it. He took my hand and intertwined his fingers with mine. I will never abandon you. I will not allow something bad to happen again. Belle. I looked at him. Our eyes met, his tone full of confidence, the warmth of his hand touching mine, his whole being transmitted confidence to me. I really don't know what I've done right in my life to deserve you. My hand stopped shaking, and without being able to help it I leaned my body towards his and stole a kiss from him. Hey, don't flirt before going out. Lefiya interrupted us. She had also held my hand, but she went to Belle. I guess she must be a little jealous. What if I do it with you too? Hey! I moved my body until I was next to hers and I also kissed her on her lips. There was no lust, there was no unbridled desire in our kiss, nor with the one I had with Belle a few moments ago. Only mutual affection. Better? I separated the kiss after a few seconds. Her blushing face was adorable. Why, yes. I remained silent for a second, take a deep breath, all to mentally prepare myself to get out of these walls I'd been in for a while. I'm ready. I hold my lover's hands a little tighter. Let's go. Belle nods, bringing his hand to the door handle, but before he turns it to open it, Lefiya interrupts him. Wait, why you're forgetting something. What's going on? What did we forget? We both looked at her. She seemed nervous. Her face was again tinted a light red. Her face was tilted down a little and her tone was soft, but we managed to hear her clearly. We're not even. She subtly looks at Belle. She looked tender, incredibly tender, and more with what she would say. Why you and Filvis kissed and I too. A kiss, that was what Lefiya received from Belle. Our hands were still together, but he took a few steps towards her side to give her that kiss that Lefiya wanted so much. When they parted she looked so happy. I already told you, you don't have to look for any excuse. I will give you from now on all the kisses you want. Oh really? Yeah. Hee. Lefiya was definitely very happy about that, and it was for that very reason that I couldn't help but make a little joke with her. Wow, it's pretty cute to see how you get embarrassed asking for and receiving a kiss, but when you get excited that changes completely. Lefiya blushed. I considered this as a small victory. That's not true. Belle and I just turned our faces in another direction. That was our response, which only made her blush more. Whatever! Lefiya grabbed the door handle. We better get out now. And with that, the doors were finally opened. The bright sun was covered by thick clouds. It was a bit cold. I took a deep breath again. Belle and Lefiya looked at me, waiting for me to make the first move. I did it. After a long time, I went out again. Walking through the streets of Oreo, everyone looks at us. No, it's me they are looking at. Their gazes are full of hate, contempt, resentment. I can feel them perfectly. None of them tried to hide them. The civilians on the streets were not the only ones. Several adventurers are watching us from the roofs of nearby buildings, surely with orders to prevent us from escaping. So it was all the fault of the Dionysus family. I can't believe it. That the Dionysus family was involved with Filis is really shocking. All the deaths they caused. All the tragedies they caused. All the families that broke up. No one was supposed to know, but apparently that wasn't the case. Someone must have leaked that information to the civilians. But apparently they didn't do it completely. In their curses launched at me, I only managed to hear that the Dionysus family was involved with Filis, but nothing more than that. Now I understand why everyone looks at me like that. Being the only survivor of that family with that damn god, all their hatred and resentment are being thrown on my shoulders. I sigh a little as I continue walking next to Belle and Lefiya. I just hope that. Why the hell are Rabbit Foot and Thousand Elf next to that damn thing? I pause slightly upon hearing those alias. My fist clench. My gaze lowers slightly. My greatest fear was coming true. Are they on your side? It's possible. The three of them have been seen together many times. Enough. The monsters that surfaced and now this, really Rabbit Foot is not on our side. Shut up. Even that elf from the Loki family is involved. Her entire family must be disappointed in her. I don't care what they say about me, but not them. Don't involve them. Banshee will always be the bane of adventurers. Don't look down. Belle's voice sounds softly in my ears. When I hear it, I look up only to find that both he and Lefiya are looking at me with a smile on their lips. What others think of us doesn't matter. Don't stop moving forward. Now Lefiya spoke up as she took my hand again. You're not alone and you never will be. You have us. We will walk by your side and move forward together. Belle took my hand firmly, but at the same time gently. It's a promise. With that said, our legs started moving again, and the voices of the others fell silent. No, that wasn't the point. It was just that I was ignoring them while paying all my attention to something much more important, the backs of those two fools who are willing to go so far for me. I have confirmed it again. I have fallen in love with two truly incredible people. We walk down a long hallway, at the end of which a wide closed door awaits us. Since we entered the headquarters of the Ganesha family, no one has looked out to see us. I suppose it is the few seconds of calm that we still have left. This place has always seemed ridiculous to me, as has its name. A huge statue of himself? I am Ganesha? I sighed lightly as I tried to forget those details. Really, how eccentric can the gods be? The time has come. Belle spoke once we got to the front of that wide door. Me and Lefiya looked at him and nodded our faces. The door was opened, and with that all the noise began to echo again. You can't be with him. You're just a monster. Because of you, the hero the world needs will never be born. Complaints, lamentations, curses were thrown at me. Some civilians, some adventurers, guild members, and gods were present, sitting in a large room. All members looked at us. Everyone blamed me, everyone cursed me, everyone wished me dead. But they won't have it, they prevented it, they forced me to keep living. He smiled slightly. No matter how much they complain, they chose to live for me, and I chose to live for them. Bibel Sama El Lefiya Sama F. Phil. Haraheim wasn't even able to say my name. She turned her face away to avoid looking at me. Of all people, it was only to her that I felt like genuinely apologizing. But I guess that won't be possible. I am Ganesha. The noisy god stood up from his seat, as irritating as ever. This trial is about to begin. If anyone has anything else to say, do so now, and don't forget I am Ganesha. This is all your fault. The goddess of Bel hit the table and shouted clearly at Lefiya and me, as loud as ever. If you or the other elf hadn't interfered with my beloved Bel-kun, this wouldn't have happened. Kami-sama, that's not true. Shut up, Bel-kun! That annoying goddess doesn't let him speak, that irritates me. It's the truth, if she hadn't appeared we would be better off. Kami-sama! Bel got angry, as did I. That's why I stared into the eyes of that goddess. She looked angry, but I still spoke to her. You don't know that? You gods don't know everything. My tone was raised, but it didn't reach the level of a shout. I wouldn't lower myself to the same level as that goddess. You're just liars whom I will never believe again. The face of that damned blonde god who used me for a long time passed through my mind. Yes, I knew he was using me. I accepted him doing it. But now that fact only makes me curse him. The gods seek to have fun. That is the reason why they descended to this world. They did it only because they were bored. My words seemed to have caught the attention of the gods present. You yourselves sealed your arcanum, you yourselves limited yourselves to living like us. While we suffered because of that, you were only having fun. My words are surely wrong. Even if it hurts us, none of us mortals will ever be able to know the true intentions of those beings known as gods. But that doesn't mean it doesn't infuriate me to a certain extent. I even consider it an insult to us mortals. I clench my fists only for them to be gently wrapped by Bel and Lefiya. The touch of their gentle hands calmed me down again. I sighed and looked back at the goddess of Bel. She seemed to be about to scream again when she saw how he voluntarily took my hand. We better start this trial. The captain of the Loki family spoke up, interrupting the screaming little goddess. I suppose I can thank him for that. We postponed this for a few days as a way to show our gratitude for the help that Cranel gave us. Liar, if that were the case, why were there adventurers who were already watching us on the roofs as soon as we left Bel headquarters? I don't know the real reasons why they left me in Bel's care for a few days while I recovered, but what I am sure of is that none of those present here had anything to do with it. In this trial we will determine what to do with you. Go ahead, although I'm sure what your sentence is already. The Palam spoke and I answered him, to which he remained silent. Wait a moment, I want to ask something first. To our surprise, the goddess of Lefiya was the one who spoke. Her eyes that are always closed were this time open, staring at me. I want to understand all this well, that's why. Since when did this start? A simple question came out of their lips. There was no malice, there was no repudiation or rejection in their tone of voice when they asked me. They were one of the few people who did not convey a total rejection of my existence. Whether she hid it or not, she did not know. Unlike the Sword Princess who did not hide it in the slightest, this goddess was different. The title of Goddess of Deception must not be for nothing. It started. Lefiya's words echoed for the first time in the room. I guess being her goddess who asked the question made her want to answer. It started when I met Bel after saving him from that minotaur. For some reason the Sword Princess seemed to get angry. Not that I care what's going through her mind right now. I look at my dear Lefiya unconsciously puffing out her chest with pride. If only she knew the truth. Well, it seems that I won't be the one to tell our dear Tsundra the truth, since Bel was the one who spoke up. The truth is that everything started before that, when the first person I met in Oreo was Filvis. Hey! Lefiya quickly turned her face to look at Bel, who was nervously scratching his cheek with his index finger. What are you talking about, Bel-kun? The screaming goddess raised her voice again. I was the first person you met. I'm sorry, Kami-sama, but the truth is... My cute rabbit looked me in the eyes, ignoring the sharp, razor-sharp glances of many women, and the tender pout that Lefiya was making. I met Filvis before anyone else. I smiled to myself, knowing that I had my first time with Bel in more ways than one was truly gratifying. It all started that day. Bel's words brought those memories to my mind, on that day, in that place where we met, and without me knowing it at the time. That's when my happiness began. Chapter 2. Noise. There was too much noise. We are getting closer to spring. You can already feel the change in temperature a little. I want to see the cherry trees bloom. I was walking through the streets of this city Oreo, listening to all the civilians and adventurers talking, laughing, smiling, telling of their adventures, exaggerating their victories. At their words, a small whisper came from my lips. How unpleasant. I couldn't stand the noise, I couldn't stand their laughter, I couldn't stand being here. I couldn't do anything to avoid it. Banshee. I heard that name, it came from the other side of the street. When I turned my face slightly, I noticed that it was a group of adventurers. I hate being looked at with those eyes. I can only stand one man looking at me. What is she doing here? I don't know, but it's better if you don't come closer. Yes, I don't want to end up dead because of his curse. That rumor that spreads among the adventurers reaches my ears again. At his words, I just kept moving forward. Look, he's leaving. That's good, I was starting to ruin the good atmosphere. I hear his last words as my steps increase our distance. Why am I walking these streets even though I hate it? Filvis, you should go out a little more often. The memory of the words of that god to whom I offered my eternal service and even my love rang in my mind. But Dionysus-sama, He put his hand on my head and gently stroked my hair. He was cold, his smile was fake. I didn't care. I am happy? I don't need a bodyguard at all times, go outside and walk through the streets of Oreo. But his gaze on me was enough to make me close my lips, he didn't want my company. At that moment, I could feel my heart ache, the god in front of me had it in his hands and was squeezing it mercilessly. I remained silent. I carried out his order. Huh! Where am I? I was lost in my thoughts for too long, so much so that for a moment I had lost myself in the middle of a lonely street. It took me a few seconds to recognize where I was. I just had to turn a corner, and I would return to the main road. I did it, and when I did, something happened. Eek! An unexpected encounter occurred. A small white sphere hit me and I fell to the ground with a small squeal of pain. No, looking closely it wasn't a sphere, it was someone's hair. Someone with white hair hit me. Silence. That person remained silent while watching me. How annoying. Don't you have something to say? My question made him jump slightly on it. His attitude changed after that. I'm so sorry. Another sunny day, there was not a single cloud to obscure the big, bright sun. I was motivated, wanting to join a family. The result? Get lost, kid. They slammed the door in my face. You? An adventurer? Ha ha. They laughed in front of me. You look very weak, come back here when you are stronger. They looked down on me. Over and over again they did it, no matter their race, they all treated me the same. I have to find a family soon. I was walking down what appears to be one of the main streets of Oreo. It was very rough and I haven't been in this place for very long. My stomach started to growl from hunger. Today I haven't eaten anything just like yesterday. I'm very hungry. I look at my pocket and count the few coins left. I would like to buy something to eat, but this is all I have left and I still have to pay the inn. I sigh with disdain. I see myself very weak, so weak and pathetic that no one wants me in their family. To save as much money as possible, I have gone to bed very early, all to avoid feeling hungry. This I don't like it. I can't lose hope. I try to encourage myself. I promise myself to become an adventurer. I can't give up so easily. I filled myself with courage. Today will be the day I join a family. I crossed the corner. I had already asked all the families in this area. I needed to go somewhere else. I just have to stand firm and not. Suddenly. Eek! I crashed into something and fell to the ground. No, it wasn't something. When I looked up to see who I hit, I realized it wasn't something, it was someone. An elf. Her face was perfectly symmetrical and delicate. Her eyes were like a set of red jewels similar to mine. Her skin is pale and looks as smooth as silk. She wore a mostly white outfit with a cape around her shoulders and a small cloak covering them along with a high collar. My grandfather once told me that elves were known for exposing as little skin as possible. I could tell she fit that description, and yet I could notice one thing about the girl standing in front of me, staring at me as I stood silently watching her. She was very beautiful. I slowly opened my lips, no words came out, I could only feel my cheeks begin to heat up. And then, "Don't you have something to say?" "I'm so sorry." His tone made me stand up immediately. "I'm so sorry." Finally, this human reacted. His gaze had been fixed on my face the whole time. I tried to reach out my hand, but he instantly pulls it back. "That's good, I see you know that our kind don't like being touched." "I'm really sorry, He seemed nervous, it's clear that he's still very young. His appearance. It reminds me a lot of the monsters Almarach. "Forget it, it doesn't matter." I don't care what this kid has to say, just saying a few words to him was unpleasant. I continued on my way, but in that moment that child screamed, "My coins!" Out of curiosity, I turned my face slightly in his direction. A small amount of valise had fallen from his torn pockets. One of those coins reached my feet. I don't know why I do it, maybe it's because that boy didn't look at my body. Because he knew I didn't like being touched? Or because of his rabbit-like appearance? "I can't lose them." He sounded desperate as he knelt on the ground collecting those few valise. "This is the only thing I have left before joining a family." Does he want to be an adventurer? I was amazed. He looks so small and weak. It's clear that if he does this he won't survive in the dungeon. "It's not my problem," I whispered as I took a step forward. "I stopped eating yesterday and today to save as much as possible. I can't lose them now." His words full of despair reached my ears. I stopped and again turned my face to see him. He had his back to me, but I was still able to see something. A tear falling. "Hey!" I called him as I approached. "Why, yes!" He didn't respond until he wiped away his tears. He clearly didn't want to be seen crying. I pretended I didn't do it. "You missed this one." "Hey!" I threw the valise that had previously fallen beside me into his hands. His expression changed, he seemed much happier. He is really still just a child. "Many. There are more families down that alley, maybe one of them will accept you." I pointed out the place to him. Don't expect any response. Finally, I left that place and started walking down the main street. Why did I help him? I was wondering in my mind. It doesn't matter, it was just a whim of mine. It's not like I'll ever see or hear from him again. "Thank you so much!" His voice echoed in my ears again, and in everyone's ears. "Thank you very much for your help." There he was, he had followed me to the main street just to thank me, smiling at me, waving goodbye to me happily. How naive, he doesn't know what awaits him. I didn't respond to his words, I didn't return his smile. There was no point in doing so, after all. I would never see him again. What a nice memory. I brought my hand up to Belle's cheek, who put his hand on mine. "Although I still regret the way I treated you at that moment, forgive me." In the midst of all these people, in the midst of this judgment, Belle looked me straight in the eyes. Ah, his eyes. I will never get tired of seeing them. "You didn't do anything wrong, Filvis. It was thanks to you that day I was able to meet Kami-sama and become part of a family, and I was finally able to enter the dungeon, making me meet Lefiya. I am very happy to have met you that day." Honey, my heart beat a little faster with joy. "Did you hear, Lefiya?" I smiled somewhat mischievously as I leaned over to see our little tsundere pouting cutely. "I was the first to meet and talk to our cute rabbit." I laughed at what I was going to say. Many of them will get angry. But I don't care. It seems that another of Belle's first times also belongs to me. Silence. A deep and sepulchral silence invaded the entire room. It didn't affect me, nor Belle, who kept looking at me with those warm eyes. "It's not fair!" she burst out in a small but adorable Lefiya. "I thought I was the first to meet him." I hugged him from behind. I could notice how Belle seemed to jump slightly in his position. I sensed what was going through his mind. "Pervert," I whispered as I approached his ear. "You imagine how the three of us were in your bed yesterday, right?" WLI. It seemed to work. It's nice to see how despite everything he's been through he still retains that tender part of his being. Ahem. The voice of the captain of the Loki family took the three of us out of our own world. Now I hate him a little more. Belle, Cranel, Lefiya, and you too. Apparently he doesn't even want to say my name. I ask you not to get distracted, our time is limited. What a big lie, they have all the time in the world. They just want to give my verdict as soon as possible. Cheer up, Lefiya. I looked at her as she smiled, the same smile that you two managed to draw on my lips. Let's continue with this. Besides, I saw how she separated from Belle and returned to her initial position. It's not like you haven't won some things before me. She blushed, she knew it clearly. After all, you two had your first kiss. Lefiya's blush increased, while a cute smile formed on her lips. A loud crack was heard. Apparently the goddess of Belle had broken some wood. Luckily for our ears, her other children restrained her. I like them a little better now. Yes, very nice, but it is better that you continue. The goddess Loki spoke up. She never stopped looking at us, as if she was analyzing something. I want to know how my little Lefiya went from being like she was before to what she is today. Loki-sama. Lefiya called her with respect. She must have felt that he recognized her and admired her change. I want to know when my little lesbian elf changed to bisexual. Loki-sama. The goddess began to laugh. Of all those present, she was the one who felt the least hostility towards me. Not what he might be thinking. The thoughts of the gods are something that we mortals will never be able to understand. Now. With a small gesture of her hand, the deity made Lefiya begin to speak. And the truth is, I would also like to know how your story began. Well, I guess it all started when I met Belle the day we were returning from that expedition and a pack of minotaurs spawned next to us. We could have kept going, there was still so much fun to be had. Stop complaining, you're wearing out my patience. But we could have gone beyond the 50th floor. I stood in silence, listening to Tiona and Tioni argue about returning from the expedition too early. Nobody wanted to accept it, but that mission ended in complete failure. That was what I was thinking as we walked across the 17th floor of the dungeon back to the surface. Tioni scolded her sister. A new species of worm-like monster wiped out our weapons and supplies. Everyone helped in the battle. I gripped my cane a little tighter in frustration at that lie. Not everyone helped in the battle. I froze with fear. I didn't do anything. It's been 6 days since Finn gave the order to return. I wonder what those monsters were. How are we supposed to know? It was clearly an unknown species. Tiona and Tioni continued to argue. Her tone calmed down when Tioni took something out from between her large breasts. Apparently it was one of the magic stones of those new monsters. From what I could hear, this stone was different. I would find out more later. I'm tired, we all are, but I guess those who are most tired are the support personnel who carried the few supplies that survived. Lion, do you want me to help you? Huh? And no, I'm fine. Miss Ace is very kind. I was excited to hear and see a little further ahead of me how Ace offered her help to Lion Sand to carry the heavy backpack. Despite her great strength, she cares about others. I admire her so much. I would like to be like her. Don't bother with them, these useless people aren't worth it. Him again. Bet had kicked Lion Sand in the hip to get her away from Miss Ace so he could speak directly into her ear. Even though you are strong, you don't know anything, do you? Talking to the weak is just a waste of time, much less helping them. Look at them with pity, after all it's your right as someone strong. She started to laugh, while Lion looked down, waiting for Miss Ace to say something to her, some words. He didn't. Why you can't? Try to help. Huh! He turned sharply to look at me. His presence alone is intimidating to me. Shut up, cowardly elf, you're not much better than those useless low-level people. I remained silent, lowering my gaze. How could I contradict him? His words were true. The memory of my cowardice when fighting continued to torment my mind. I don't like. Shut up, Bet. Fiona's words echoed in the room. Listening to you is the real waste of time. Apologize to Lion and Lefiya. Tioni joined her sister. The werewolf didn't like that. Shut up, you two! A new verbal battle was about to begin in front of us. The Amazon sisters and the werewolf looked at each other intensely. 1 second. Yo! That was all it took for none of that to matter. Several howls began to echo around the place. We were in the middle of a birth, many in fact. Yo! Their howls were powerful enough to make average adventurers run away in fear. I know because even I'm shaking. A pack of a particular species of monster began to appear. First their thick arms, then the little legs emerged from their own shadows, cracking the ground as they finished being born, their skin rusted as if it were a brick wall. The body of a man and the head of a bull. The very embodiment of what we know as a monster. A herd had appeared before us. Minotaurs. You see, these minotaurs came here to shut you up. Shut up, damn it! Despite being surrounded by a group of the strongest monsters on the middle floors of the dungeon, none of the first-level adventurers seemed to be affected. They had fought against enemies much stronger than these. Therefore, they did not have any signs of fear or worry. There are quite a few. What should we do? Raoul said while looking at the captain. I'm sorry, normally I would let you and the other lower-level ones take care of it so you can gain experience, but it's better to get to the surface quickly. That was his answer. As a leader he didn't expect an answer, he just turned his face to look at the executives. Let's finish them off quickly. That's the way to talk. With a tender hum, Tiona was the first to approach one of those monsters. During their first moments of life, they were analyzing us, choosing which would be their prey. All until a cute Amazon stood right in front of one of them. An instant later the tender Amazon had given him a strong kick in the jaw, not only breaking it, but also his neck, leaving the corpse of the monster visible to the others. Tioni joined in and with great ease had leapt to land on the head of another minotaur, grabbing it by the horns and twisting its head until it snapped its neck as well. Yo! The great beasts noticed it, the great difference between their strength and theirs. They were not the only ones, I also noticed it again. The reaction of the pack of minotaurs was one that none of us expected. They all fled, scattering in every possible direction. The great escape had begun. Ha! Hey! Do you call yourselves monsters? We were all confused, inert as that group of minotaurs ran for their lives. Tioni and Bet were the only ones who reacted, but only with words. Go after them, all of you! My teacher's voice made us react. At Reveria-sama's order the executives went out to chase the minotaurs. I thought it was to prevent any other unwary adventurers from getting hurt because of us. I thought that until I heard the conversation between my teacher and the captain. If any newbie comes across them, it will be their end. Yes, and most likely his family and the Union would investigate the matter. They would know it would be our fault, and they would fine us and our reputation would be affected. Seriously? That's what you're worried about. The rookies' lives are in danger, and that's all you're worried about. Bet's words passed through my mind. My inability to do anything overwhelmed me. I can't stand it. If one day I want to be on par with Miss Ace, I have to act. I have to be brave. I have to. Lefiya, wait, let Ace and let them take care of it. Moving forward on my own. That's what I kept telling myself as I left my teacher's words behind. That was very risky, Lefiya. Belle interrupted Lefiya's story as he took her hands firmly. You could have hurt yourself. Oh, look who said it. She blushed. Apparently it is still difficult for her to express displays of affection in public. If only they saw her when we were in private. I know, but still I don't like seeing people I care about get hurt. Lefiya blushed even more at Belle's words, even her ears turning a light pink. It's an image I like to see, but this is not the place. Honey, I stood behind him and took his hands, separating them from Lefiya's, who couldn't help but pout a little. I'll make it up to her later. Your words are very sweet, but this is not the best place to say them. He is a little silly sometimes, but it doesn't matter, he is our silly. I think it will be better if you continue. You're right. He stood firm, his gaze changing slightly. That same day when you Loki family returned from your expedition, I was on the 5th floor of the dungeon and. His story began to be told. Lefiya stood beside him. I suppose they both will tell their respective points of view of that day. He ran, he fled desperate, scared. This was not how he had imagined it. I thought it would be different, seeking fame, fortune. With a sword in hand I would kill any monster. I would save a girl sitting on the ground cornered by that monster who would end up alone to save her. Her cheeks would turn red when she saw me, her tearful eyes would reflect my figure, and a weak love would awaken in her. That would be my predestined meeting. He would befriend a mischievous waitress, be an adventure partner to a fearless elf, team up with Amazons. That was what he thought. Wawaya! In conclusion, I was wrong. Yo! I'm a complete fool. The moment I sign the guild papers to be an adventurer and wait for a fated meeting in a place where people die in the worst possible ways, I sign my sentence. I'm sorry, Aina-san. I think about my advisor. She told me which floor I could go down to and I disobeyed her. I'm so sorry, Kami-sama. I think of the goddess who accepted me into her family that day in that alley. By the way, that alley was thanks to that person who helped me. At least I would have liked to know his name. The hooves of the monster that attacks me are so strong that they crack the ground wherever it passes. I am unable to do a single damage to it. My only possible action is to roll on the floor of the dungeon, gaining a few seconds of life. But now it's too late. I hit a wall. It was a dead end. The monster is in front of me. I'm dead. Where are they? I felt agitated. I had to catch my breath the moment I reached the intersection of several different roads. Miss Ace, Tiona-san, Tioni-san, even Bet-san are very fast. I ran as fast as my level and strength allowed me, but during that whole journey I saw nothing and no one. Maybe they already finished off all the minotaurs. How silly, it was clear that I couldn't be of any help to them. I sigh lightly, relieved that I don't have to face some of those things alone. I made a hasty decision to prove to my teacher, to Miss Ace no, it was to prove to myself that I could be of help in the dungeon. I guess it's best to go back to the others like this. Yo! A roar echoed through one of the hallways ahead of me. It was clear where it came from. Is there still one left? Up here! I felt my courage fading, my staff shaking in the hand holding it. I thought about retreating, finding Miss Ace, Tiona-san, Tioni-san, or even Bet and telling them that there was still one of those minotaurs on the loose. I couldn't do it. I had heard a desperate cry. The cry did not come from any monster but from a person. I have to do it. A second burst of courage filled my body, causing me to start walking down that hallway. I have to show Miss Ace that I am brave and I can help her too. Moving forward, the sound of intense blows to the rock walls became louder. When reaching the end of the corridor, he could see them. At first it was difficult for me to understand the scene. Why would a minotaur attack an almara? Then I realized that it was not that rabbit-like monster, but a person. I don't want this to end like this. I feel like a useless person. I told my grandfather my dream of being a hero so many times. I told myself so many times to convince myself that I would achieve it. All of that will be ruined by a childish fantasy. Get lost, kid. You? An adventurer? Haha. You look very weak. Come back here when you are stronger. Those words that were said to me several days ago when I still didn't have a family for some reason hit my mind. I feel a slight moisture on my cheeks. They are tears. I am crying in the face of death approaching me. At least. A light whisper comes out of my lips. At least I would have liked to save someone. The bull monster raises his hand, clenches his fist, ready to deliver the killing blow. I close my eyes. I don't want to see him. Hey you duck! Something hit next to me. It wasn't a blow. I don't know what it was, nor do I recognize that voice. I open my eyes. I can see how a small trail of smoke was coming out of one of the walls next to me. As I look towards the source of that voice, I realize that someone else is here. An elf. It can't be. How could I miss my attack? The answer was obvious. That was my best chance. My magic failed to hit the target because my hands kept shaking. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? The bull-like monster saw me, I don't know why, but he smiled when he saw me. That made me more afraid of him. Could it be that he saw me when he was born with the others? Is this perhaps his revenge for the death of his brothers? Footsteps. His footsteps began to sound in the place. Once he saw me, he left that human with the appearance of a rabbit and began to approach me. Run away now! I yelled at that human. I wouldn't have a better chance of escaping than this. My magic was useless at this moment. The monster was getting closer to me. I take several steps back until my back hits the stone wall of the dungeon. By this point, that human must have already left. I don't know for sure. I can't stop seeing the big monster that is in front of me getting closer and closer. He didn't have to see it. It was obvious that he should have left as soon as he had the chance, after all. It's what anyone would do. If I start running, maybe I can find Miss Ace, and then. My eyes widen. I try to move my legs to get away from the place as quickly as possible, but they don't respond. Why now? Move, 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 move. It's useless. Am I going to die? Tears started to form in my eyes. I wasn't brave, just completely stupid. The Minotaur, proclaiming his vengeance, raised the arm with which he would end my life. D-damn cow! A scream went up all over the place. Followed by that, I saw how a small rock hit the Minotaur's head, crashing and bouncing off one of its horns. What's happening? Am I scared of you? You were nothing but a coward! More screams were released into the air. I'm sure anyone on this floor would be able to hear them. The great beast turned to see the origin of that voice. That's when I saw it. It was that human. What are you doing? Will you just make me kill you too? Why didn't you run away when I gave you the chance? Are you an idiot? Questions after questions crossed my mind. Run away now! I heard her scream. I got up with great difficulty. I was about to take a step to the side, run as fast as I can. She will be okay. If she told me to run away, that means she could take care of it, right? She didn't. That elf shared my same situation. She was shaking, slowly backing away until she hit the wall. What was I about to do? Run? Will I run away again? Like a coward? Make all those people who spoke badly of me right? I hate it. I hate being weak. My dream will never come true if I don't do something to make it come true. My dream will not come true if I don't give my all to make it come true. I'm still shaking. I feel like I could wet my pants at any moment. I lift several stones that were next to me. There were some of those that came loose with the apparent failed attack of that elf. I'm going to do something crazy. D-damn cow! I throw one of those stones at the monster that turned its back on me. What's happening? Am I scared of you? You were nothing but a coward! Throw another stone, then another, then another, then another. Until finally the Minotaur turned to look at me. Don't run from me and fight! What are you waiting? I throw the stones I had left directly at his face, until Yo! An impact in one of his eyes. It was clear. I made him angry. I noticed it when he turned his back on that elf and began to approach me again. If only I had thought of something else, I wouldn't be paralyzed without knowing what to do. What do? I have no strength, I have no agility, I have no magic, I have no endurance, I have no skill and much less luck. Run! At least I'd like to save someone. Run! Why are you doing this? I watched as that human took more stones and threw them at the Minotaur. Why are you doing this? My goal was selfish. I wanted to impress someone close to me, but you. Aggh. The human screamed as he took more stones from my failed attack and used them as a weapon to continue fighting. No, that wasn't a gun, and it clearly wasn't a fight. Why are you doing this? Why are you risking your life for someone you don't even know? I think about my teacher, Fin-san, Gareth-san, Tiona-san, Tioni-san, even Bet-san. Everyone has something in common with this human. Worth. Aggh. I throw more rocks at the monster approaching me. I tried to hit its other eye, so that by some miracle it remains unable to see long enough to escape. He didn't allow it. In his anger, the Minotaur bowed his head to prevent that from happening again when some close approached, and so it was until inevitably I was left with nothing to throw at him. Yo! He roared in fury. The great beast that starred in the confrontation of his favorite story had thrown a blow at him. I had hit the wall. I guess if I have any luck. Large debris fell on me, especially on my head. I guess I'm not that lucky. Half of my vision turns a deep red color. I begin to feel heat in that area. Ha, now I understand. My blood had begun to spill from the wounds received. It's over, this is as far as I go, I whispered with resignation. I fall to the ground along with the other rubble, creating more wounds on my body, although it didn't really matter. After all, I was going to die. Forgive me, Grandpa, it seems I couldn't fulfill my dream. We'll see each other again soon. I say goodbye to the last person I was missing. The great beast raises its hoof, apparently planning to kill me with a single step. I close my eyes. I'm fine with this. I gained more seconds than I thought. By now that girl must be walking away. He smiled for the last time. At least I was able to save a girl. Ray of light unleash, bough of the sacred tree. I opened my eyes because of those words spoken by the voice of that elf. I'm ashamed. I reproached myself as I watched how that young human resisted his death at the hands of that monster. Very different from me. That human who doesn't seem to be older than me is much braver than I have ever shown. I am weak. I hold my cane tightly. The image of Miss Ace, of my friends, crosses my mind. They face the monsters with great courage. Without flinching, I want to reach them. I want to reach her. I watched that human fall to the ground with half of his face soaked in his own blood. I want to be as brave as him, I whispered as I got into position and cleared my mind. A value that is not to fear anything. What I want is that despite the fear that the battle may give me, I find the courage to overcome it and move forward. That's why I. Ray of light unleash, bough of the sacred tree. I begin to recite my spell. You are an expert in the bow. Shoot the fairy sniper. The Minotaur seems to have noticed my intentions. Penetrate, Aryan arrow of absolute precision. The great beast, instead of trying to flee, stomped closer. Do you plan to take one before you die? I will not allow it. Arc's ray! My spell was cast, hitting the Minotaur directly, causing its body to break off some limbs. The beast's blood fell on that human. I would have to apologize if it weren't for the fact that once I remove his magic stone, every part of his body will dissolve, including his blood. The monster corpse began to turn to dust and dissipate on the spot. Apparently I damaged its magic stone. I guess I won't have to do it. Are you serious? I think with some astonishment and a slight touch of annoyance. What kind of luck do you have? The blood that covered that human was still on top of him. Sigh. It seems I will have to apologize to him for that. Still shaking slightly, I use my staff to support myself and get closer to that boy. Once I'm next to him, I sit on my knees. I'm not aware that my tears were beginning to form again. Are you okay? Those were his words. He was breathing with difficulty. One of his eyes was closed. It was the side where he had been hit by that debris. How can you be more worried about a stranger you haven't even met before than yourself? I ask. I have to control my tone. I don't want a human to see me crying, although he saved my life. I want to be a hero. What a childish dream. Many would laugh just hearing that. I didn't do it. I wouldn't insult the person who saved me in that way. I unconsciously smiled. That's why I'm glad you're okay. How noble. It's the first time I've met such a pure man. Small drops began to fall on his face. Where are they coming from? Is the cell roof leaking? No, it was nothing like that. It was my tears that fell on his smiling face. Besides, I'm happy to have helped you. Me? Why me specifically? We've never met. I was able to somehow fulfill the promise I made to my grandfather. His eyes close, the adrenaline must be leaving his body. He's falling unconscious. I hear a pair of footsteps approaching us. Unconsciously, I take this human by the head and bring him a little closer to me, without even thinking I had put him on my lap. To save a pretty girl. Those were her words before she completely fainted. Those footsteps were those of Miss Ace and Bet. Both of them had finally arrived and had come across the scene. Of me giving this blood-soaked human a lap pillow as he started to cry at seeing that he was finally safe. Lefiya. Yes, Filvis? I looked into her blue eyes. I could hear the Sword Princess saying several things. I should have gone faster. I should have known him. Their complaints and claims couldn't matter less to me. I just focused on seeing the face of my beloved who couldn't stop smiling when remembering how her encounter with our rabbit was. And you complained about not being the first to meet him? She just smiled wider and lifted her chest proudly. Your meeting with Belle was much better than mine. Meeting each other when we both could have died at the hands of a minotaur I wouldn't consider a better way to get to know each other. You're pretending. Your proud smile gives you away. So, why do you look so happy? He. Our eyes met each other, not out of jealousy. That stage was long gone. It was more like a little contention between us. Girls, please. Belle took us by the shoulders, making us both look at him. We can talk about this another time. We both came to our senses. We let ourselves go again. But could you blame me? For the first time in my life I feel happy. No, I know you wouldn't blame me, and above all I know you'll take responsibility for changing me. You're right, darling. I called you that way again. I had to mark my territory in front of the other women in this room. When we're done with this, we'll talk about it while you lie on my breasts like you've done so many times. I smiled mischievously, although deep down I was sure that that would not be very likely to come true. Hey! Lefiya complained. Be Belle Kun. I see that it is becoming easier for you to call him affectionately. He prefers to lie on my thighs. Really? There's only one way to find out. I turned my face to see Belle. Honey, tell us what you prefer. Her lips moved. She was waiting for that answer. It wasn't until my beloved's teacher looked at us with great seriousness. How arrogant is nobility, showing off so dignified, believing themselves to be superior to others of our same race. No, maybe she wasn't like that, and it's just my own prejudices. I just don't know what to think of her yet. Girls, we'll talk about this later. Let's not drag this out any longer. Were your words, but at that moment when we both agreed to accept that, you came closer to us and whispered. For me, there's no difference. I love your bodies and feeling every part of them. I could only compare it to being in heaven itself. I felt a pleasant sensation throughout my body. Knowing that the man I loved and desired felt the same way about me was something truly wonderful. Lefiya must have felt the same. The tips of her ears being red proved it. Neither of them said another word. We let Belle continue. After falling unconscious, I woke up in the infirmary of the Loki family headquarters. I slowly opened my eyes, looking at the ceiling of a room. Without moving my head much, I realized that I was lying in a bed next to an open window. My cheek is caressed by a warm summer breeze, although now that I remember, spring is not far away now. Where am I? I stand up slightly. You finally wake up, boy. I am surprised by the voice I hear next to me. When did that woman get there? I don't know, maybe she was there all along and I just didn't notice. It was the first time I saw her. Her eyes were closed, she was smiling ironically. Her hair was red. I didn't know her, but I could feel what she was like. I found myself in front of a goddess. Excuse me, but where am I? Is this how you thank us for bringing you here after what happened? His smile grew wider. His words did not match the carefree tone with which he said them. We even gave you a change of clothes. Memories hit my mind in just an instant. Is that girl okay? Hey, calm down. The goddess seems to be thoughtful, but then her smile widens. My goodness, worrying about a stranger before yourself. She seems to relax. She's fine. Sigh of relief. You are currently in the infirmary at my headquarters. She will arrive soon. I blink a few times, assimilating the information that was given to me. You. Yes, I am their patron goddess. Her smile changed again. Now it was more of a proud one. You should be grateful, kid. It's not every day that you get looked after by the same goddess from one of the strongest families in Oreo. I swallow. I start to feel nervous. Even though I've only been in this city for a short time, I've heard stories about the strongest families. My name is Loki, and I welcome you on this occasion. It's the least I can do for saving the life of one of my daughters. Save her? Yes, you don't know how surprised I was when I saw her carrying you, begging us to help you, that you were injured, saving her life. Save his life? What is he talking about? Why did that elf give me credit? If she hadn't appeared in the first place, I would be dead right now. That's why I waited for you to wake up, kid. I wanted to offer you my most sincere thanks. Wait, Loki-sama. I prevented the goddess from bowing slightly before me. Her gratitude is something I do not deserve. She was the one who saved my life. I did not do such a thing. I shook my head repeatedly. I do not deserve that credit, and please do not bow. It is already a lot that I have been cured. I lean over while still sitting on this stretcher. How comfortable. Since I joined Kami-sama's family, I have slept every day on an old mattress. I am the one who should thank you. After my words, a new breeze of wind entering the room was the only thing that was heard, and it continued like that for a few more seconds. How strange, they both tell the truth. Loki-sama? I thought I heard some words from the goddess. Did she say something? I was just thinking about something to myself, don't worry. The goddess seemed to relax, stretching her arms up as she settled better in her seat. Anyway, you still helped Lefiya a lot against that minotaur, so even if you say you don't deserve it, you have my gratitude. I tilt my head in confusion. Lefiya? Was that her name? I had heard it until now. Hey, don't tell me no. The goddess seemed to notice this, but her words were stopped when the door to the room had been opened. I brought more bandages and healing potions. How is it going? There she was, that elf who saved my life. You woke up! He quickly threw what he was carrying in his hands to his goddess and approached me. Once he was in front of me, he looked down. How are you? Does something hurt? It seems that she worries a lot. You're an idiot. How could you dare face a minotaur like that? Did you want to die? On second thought, it seems that I don't bother him that much. She stayed silent for a second. Thank you so much. She looked up, our eyes stared at each other. I hadn't noticed, but she has blue eyes. It was as if she was looking at the same sky. My grandfather was right, elves are very beautiful. Letting myself be carried away by that thought was What beautiful eyes! Hey! Hey! I realize my words. I feel my face starting to heat up. I must look like a tomato right now, I must be so red. Thank you? She was not in any better condition. The tips of her ears were beginning to have a pinker tone. We both sat in a somewhat awkward silence. Ahem, don't forget me. The goddess spoke. Now she seemed to have an annoyed tone. Boy, what family do you belong to? Loki asked as he regained his happiest tone. I'm from the Hestia family. It's better that you go now. I declare without hesitation. What? Why? Lefiya complained, but her goddess ignored her to look at me. Listen, kid, it's nothing personal, it's just that shrimp, your goddess and I are not on good terms. She left the bandages and potions that Lefiya had thrown at her on the side of the bed. You can use these last potions so that you are completely healed and then get out of here. Please don't say any of this to your goddess. The last thing I want is for her to come and yell at me for her nonsense. Kami-sama had not told me about this. I know that some gods have some rivalry between them. This seems to be the case. I understand. Thank you very much, Loki-sama. I once thanked the goddess and turned my face to see Lefiya. I don't think it would be wise to call her by her name. Also, thank you very much for your help. That's why I pretended I didn't know him. Lefiya, my name is Lefiya Filvis. She took the remaining potions and brought them to me. Can you use them yourself? Hey, Lefiya, come here for a second. The goddess spoke again, making Filvis obey her orders. Once she was by her side, she whispered something in her ear, which made her blush. I wonder what he said to her? Well, I'm leaving now, kid. Lefiya will wait for you outside the room to accompany you out. Her smile and cheerful attitude had returned. If you don't have a guide, the second best thing is that you'll end up lost. Why, yes, again for this day I bow slightly. Thank you very much for your help. Once I was alone, I finally got out of bed, My wounds had disappeared, my clothes had changed, they had a simple design, there was not much difference from what I was wearing, only one thing was different. The quality of it. The clothes I was wearing before were full of alterations, but these were in perfect condition. As I finished getting ready, I decided that once I could I would return it, so I had to be very careful not to damage it. Once I finished getting ready, I walked out the door, and just as Loki-sama said, Lefiya was waiting for me. Are you ready? I find myself waiting for that boy outside the infirmary, leaning against the wall, still remembering the words of my silly goddess. Hey Lefiya, come here for a second. I approached her, and once she had the chance she whispered in my ear, Tell me something. Yeah? She became serious. That is not common, it must be something important. Did you perhaps fall in love with that rabbit-like boy? I feel my face burning. I don't have to look in a mirror to know I'm blushing. Of course not. I raised my tone of voice, but without stopping mumbling. Why do you say that? Because you cared so much for him, you were even the one who cleaned the blood from his body. Now my ears must be red too. If that's the case, I'm sorry, but I'm not in love with that human. I reject those baseless accusations. Besides, I have Miss Ace, and I. Well, that's what I wanted to hear. Loki smiled. She seemed relieved in a way. I don't want anyone to get in Yuri's way. These are the moments when I cannot understand those strange names that both Loki and some gods use. Without giving me a chance to say anything else, my goddess said goodbye to that human and put me in charge of guiding him to the exit. That Loki. My memories stop when I hear the door handle moving. As it slowly opened, it appeared. Now I realize that I still don't know his name. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Thank you very much for waiting for me, Vortis-san. I called her by her last name again, which seemed to cause her some conflict as she frowned a little. Have you made a mistake? Your name. Huh? What do you mean? I introduced myself and told you my name, but you didn't. I opened my eyes. It is true, for the elves whose rules on manners are so important, that must have been a very big lack of respect. I'm so sorry. I raised my voice a little. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself properly. My name is Belle Cranel. Belle Cranel, she smiles, as if she had achieved a goal. It's nice to meet you. I reach out my hand, clearly wanting to shake it, but why? I'm very confused right now. Vortis-san, why? Lefiya, call me by my name. She stood with her hand outstretched. It looked so soft and delicate. You saved my life, it's the least I can do. I didn't save you, Viri. The look she gave me when I was about to call her by her last name again made me reconsider. Lefiya-san. Her gaze softened again. You did it, you saved me and helped me in more than one way. That's why I want you to call me by my name and introduce ourselves properly. I don't think I've done that much for you, hee. I slightly stretched my hand towards hers, but before they touched I stopped. Lefiya-san, are you sure? I know that elves don't like to be touched by people of other races. She opened her eyes slightly. She was surprised. I really don't know what caused that impression. I only know that the smile that followed was just as beautiful as all the ones I've had the opportunity to see today. Don't worry about it. Unlike the other elves, I'm not very attached to those traditions and I don't share them. So is it okay for me to touch you? Yes, she blushed suddenly. She didn't know the reason. Can't you say it any other way? Now I too realize those words. I am ashamed to say them that way. Lefiya-san, I didn't mean. I stopped my words when our hands touched. It was the Lefiya herself who finished bringing them together. I know, just be careful how you say things. You could create misunderstandings. Our hands went up and down slightly. Nice to meet you, Belle-san. Same here, Lefiya-san. Our hands separate. The young elf in front of me turns to her right and begins to walk. This is the exit. She starts to move forward and I follow her. The journey was a bit long. This headquarters was very large, full of corridors. Loki-sama was right. If I had wanted to go out on my own, I would have gotten lost. We didn't talk much on the way, but the silence between us didn't bother me. Lefiya told me that the other members of her family are resting in their rooms after returning from an expedition to the deepest floors of the dungeon. Unbelievable. That was all I could think about, knowing how far they had come. My admiration for Lefiya increased knowing that. Now I think that I really wasn't helpful, and she only said those words out of being very nice. I want to change that. I want to be strong. We arrived. It's true, I got so carried away by my desire to be stronger that I didn't realize the moment when we had arrived at what appeared to be the main door of their headquarters. The entrance to Lefiya-san's headquarters alone is larger than the room where I sleep with Kami-sama. Thank you very much for guiding me, Lefiya-san. Without your help I would have really gotten lost. We walked through the big gate and across the front lawn. No problem, Belle-san. Even if Loki hadn't said it, I would have guided you. She lightly scratched her cheek. The truth is that the first few weeks I got here I got lost a lot of times, hee. I walked through the main gate while Lefiya remained on the grounds of her headquarters. Suddenly my stomach growled. I'm sorry. She held back her laughter, but let out small giggles from time to time. Again I feel my face blushing. Eating what Kami-sama brings from work is not as nutritious as I thought. Belle-san, you're new to Oreo, right? Yes, I haven't been here long since I arrived in the city, and much less since I joined Kami-sama's family. I see. If you want I can tell you about a place where they sell good food. My family goes often, and we are always very satisfied. She told me about that place, the hostess of fertility. She even gave me a detailed way of how to get there from the guild. Tomorrow my family and I will go tonight to celebrate having returned from the expedition, so tomorrow too. Our eyes met. So I can give you back your clothes. They were stained with Minotaur blood and they haven't finished drying yet. She is really very kind. I thank her for everything she did for me again. We say goodbye and finally I walk back to my headquarters. Along the way I am very careful not to dirty the clothes I am wearing. Tomorrow will be the best time to return them. I met another elf today. The faces of Lefiya-san passed through my mind, with a cheerful and kind attitude, just like my guild advisor Aina-san is not attached to the customs of her race. Although the case of Lefiya-san is more notorious, I understand that Aina-san being a half-elf and that must have influenced her very friendly personality, almost seeming as if she were an older sister. I stopped my steps. Aina-san will be angry with me if she finds out what happened. I brought my hands to my head. Not only did I disobey her order not to go further into the dungeon, but I didn't go to see her after that. She is also very kind, but when she gets angry she is very scary. My mind wanders to the possible scolding I will receive. I stop paying attention to the road. Crash into someone? Are you okay? Fortunately this time I didn't fall to the ground. I'm so sorry. I look up. Before me I feel the same feeling I felt when I met Loki-sama. It was a god, the person I collided with. His hair was blonde and of medium length. He was much taller than me. His eyes were emerald green. Don't worry, I see you didn't hurt yourself and that makes me happy. His tone was like that of someone noble and very friendly. Is Dionysus-sama okay? Suddenly a new voice appeared behind that god, although saying it was new was not entirely true. You are? There she was, the first person who helped me when I arrived in the city, that elf who kindly gave me an address, and with that I was able to meet Kami-sama. Wow, do you know him, Filvis? Filvis, so that's your name. Not really Dionysus-sama, just. Thank you very much for helping me in that alley. Unable to hide my joy, I interrupted her. Thanks to you I was able to meet Kami-sama and become part of a family. She remained silent, only turning her face slightly to see the god. Apparently she belonged to his family. I see, so Filvis will help you. Yeah. That's good to hear. My name is Dionysus, and this is Filvis Chalia. The god introduced himself elegantly. I have to respond appropriately. I can't make the same mistake again that I made with Lefiya-san. Nice to meet you. I bow slightly in respect to the god. And I'm glad to know your name now. I said that to the elf once I raised my gaze. My name is Cranel and I am a member of the Hestia family. Hestia? The god's tone was heard slightly altered. Since when does Hestia have a family? Well, at the moment I'm its only member, until very recently I became part of it. Since Filvis helped you, right? Yes, thanks to her I met Kami-sama. There were a few moments of silence. Filvis seemed nervous. Hey, are you? Bell Crane. The god called me, interrupting my words. Although he was still smiling, I could notice something different in him. Why, yes. Another moment of silence. That strange feeling disappeared. The smile and kindness of the god returned to normal. I wish you and Hestia the best, but do me a favor, don't tell her I said that, okay? Will he be on bad terms like Loki-sama? Kami-sama, how many people have you bothered? Now if you'll excuse us, we have things to do. I understand I have to go too. I begin to take light steps, moving away a little from them. I'm sorry again for having collided with you, Dionysus-sama. The god waves me off with a light wave of his hand, bidding me farewell. Filvis, on the other hand, still doesn't say a single word. Did I make her angry? I owe it to her that I met Kami-sama that day and started being an adventurer. Chalia-san, I stop for a moment to talk to her, our gazes synchronize. I'm glad to see you again. All this time, she seemed to be angry. I remembered one of the many pieces of advice my grandfather once gave me. He told me that if I ever saw an angry girl, I should try to give her a compliment to cheer her up. Your name is very pretty. After those embarrassing words, I finally walked away from the place. I just hope you liked my compliment. Today was a good day despite the Minotaur. I learned the names of 2 cute elves. Your name is very pretty. Who does this human think he is to tell me that? There is only one man from whom I accept a compliment, although he has never genuinely given me one. Filvis. Yes, Dionysus-sama. He's angry, I know. That just makes me start to despise that human. To wish I had never helped him, much less met him. From now on you will be in charge of watching that child. What? But... You heard me, it's a precaution for Hestia. Dionysus-sama, he is just a rookie, he won't be able to do anything. Shut up, it's an order. He clenched his fists, trying to hide the fact that he was in the middle of the street. He was angry. Worse, he was angry with me. Is that clear? Yeah. He started walking without even waiting for me. I know when he doesn't want me around. This is one of those moments. I turn my body and look into the distance at the back of that child who was walking away, whom I began to detest. Bell Crane. No, hate would not be the word. It is a much stronger, much more intense feeling. I hate you. Chapter 3. I'm so sorry. I covered my face with my hands. The memory of how I initially thought about Bell made me feel ashamed. I didn't want him to see me, and suddenly. Don't feel guilty about your past words. You took my hands and separated them from my hidden face, showing it to the light, making the first thing I see your beautiful smile. I don't care about your past, I only care about sharing the present and the future with you. My heart beats hard. At no time did you let go of my hands, not then and much less now. Honey, you are very clever. What can I say? You let go of one of my hands. I would have been angry if it weren't for the fact that you did it to hold one of Lefiya's hands. I'm the kind of man who always wants to look great in front of his girlfriends. You're not lying. Many times we saw you cry, be scared, have no idea what to do, depend on others. And yet, you always stood up, no matter how many times you fell before adversity. You never gave up, and both Lefiya and I know you never will. For us, that's what makes you the coolest person. Belle, as much as I like it when you have that attitude, I think it's better if we continue. Lefiya spoke with some difficulty. In any other circumstances I would have thought it was due to the way everyone present looked at us inquisitively. But you can't fool me. The tips of her ears are flushed. Even moving slightly, she is happy and is just struggling not to pounce on our bunny to hug him for his beautiful words. I don't blame her. I'm the same way. He's already gone. I watch you walk away carefully. You don't want to dirty the clothes I lent you, right? Hee hee. I realize your intentions. I can't help but let out a small laugh. What a nice human. I turn my body to head back inside my headquarters. I thought no one had seen me talking to Belle-san. Here you are, Lefiya! I was wrong. Tiona-san, what are you doing here? I asked with some nervousness because of the surprise she had given me when she appeared out of nowhere. She took my hand and began to drag me through the large door of our headquarters. I was looking for you, Lefiya. You look as cheerful and lively as ever. Despite having recently returned from the expedition, you still have a lot of energy. I envy that about you. Let's take a bath together. Huh! On the way, Tiona-san told me that they had given the order for those who were using the showers to finish before Ace-san and the others finished unpacking their things. Now that I think back, I haven't had time to do that. Well, it doesn't matter. I think about the reason for my delay. We had arrived at that time, and in a carefree manner worthy of her, Tiona-san undressed and went into the showers. Now that I think about it, I feel a little bad for the girls before us, but I really couldn't turn down a hot shower at this point. You're wearing very striking clothes, Ace. Loki said he would bite my tongue if I didn't do it. I managed to hear Miss Ace's voice. Apparently she was a few steps in front of me. When I looked up, I was fascinated. Nothing covered her slender figure. Her skin was really beautiful. She was perfect. I could feel my heartbeat speeding up. As my face began to heat up, my eyes were focused only on his body, and suddenly, Lefiya, get undressed now. The others are waiting. SSI. Tioni's words brought me out of my trance. I couldn't help but look at her. Like her sister and Miss Ace, they were completely naked. I couldn't help but compare myself to them. My body was much smaller in every way. My personality is more reserved. The proof was that compared to Tiona-san, who threw her clothes on the floor as soon as she entered, I took my time. It took me almost a minute to unbutton all my clothes. Every time I took one off, I folded it and put it in a basket. At the end, I slid my panties over my legs to leave them in the basket, and finally entered the showers. There weren't many. A row of 10 showers protruded from one side of the wall, and at the back was a small bathtub that could only fit 2 or maybe 3 people at most. While I wash my body, I can hear the conversation between Tiona-san and Miss Ace. Oh, aren't you a little depressed? She remained silent. It's just that after the Minotaur attack, you seemed a little, depressed. I looked up. I couldn't help it. As I did so, I saw that both of them had already headed for the bathtub. It's because of Lefiya. Because of me? Why are you depressed because of me? The memory of my battle against that Minotaur passed through my mind. I began to tremble, to feel afraid, and suddenly, I want to be a hero. I remembered Belle-san's reason for facing that monster. Seeing his bravery inspired me. Without realizing it, my body stopped shaking, nor did I feel afraid, not while I remembered the face of that rabbit-like human. Even though you're not here, you're still helping me, I whispered with a joy that I didn't even realize. I can't stay behind. Ace, what do you mean by Lefiya? She came out unscathed from that Minotaur's attack. My thoughts are again interrupted by Tiona-san's voice. If Lefiya and that other boy had arrived earlier, they wouldn't have had to go through that, and Bet wouldn't have made fun of them for being covered in the Minotaur's blood. Nobody said anything. The only sound that could be heard in the room was that of falling water. If only I were faster, if only I were stronger. Miss Ace continued speaking. Being strong means being feared by others, I know, but still That's wrong! I screamed loudly as I weakly held a towel to cover myself and threw myself into the bathtub, right next to Miss Ace. I realized my sudden intrusion, having entered the conversation in such a way, and even worse, the bathtub, caused both Tiona-san and Miss Ace to have their hair completely soaked again. I'm so sorry! I overheard what you were saying, and I'm so sorry! I bowed my head in apology repeatedly, causing my face to sink into the water again and again. By the end, my entire body was soaked. Lefiya, what's wrong? Tiona-san asked me while Miss Ace stared at me. I had to give her a clear answer. I felt my face getting hot. Without realizing it, I held the towel I was wrapped in tighter. Miss Ace, I can't always depend on you, I said. For some reason I could feel a weight falling off my shoulders. In the dungeon, it's okay for you to do what you can do, that's what you once told me. Our eyes met. She looked a little surprised. What happened with that Minotaur wasn't your fault. I was scared, I admit it. but I found the courage to face him alongside Belle-san. Belle-san? Judging by their faces, it was clear that they didn't know who I was talking about. Yes, I always depend on you. I will never be able to grow on my own, but at the same time I don't think that being strong means being alone. I look at my hand for a few seconds, thinking about everything that happened that day. If you give me your hand without making any effort on my own, I won't feel like I deserve to hold it. I wish that one day I could stand next to you, fighting and supporting each other. That's all I wish for. I remain silent. The others look at me. Even Tioni-san had stopped showering in order to pay more attention to my words. Lefiya, that Belle-san had something to do with your change of attitude. Without realizing it, I hear Tioni-san's voice behind me. Her gaze did not indicate anything good, as did her mischievous smile. Clearly I had misinterpreted some things. That boy I found you with at the entrance of the headquarters, he was Belle-san, right? Tiona-san added, to my bad luck. He has a cute face, he reminds me of a rabbit. Rabbit? Ace only spoke to tilt his head in confusion. It seems like our little elf is growing up. Tioni-san took me by the shoulders. I was trapped with no chance of escape. Is that the boy who is rumored to be the one you begged for help? I can feel my face turning red. I constantly tell them that it's a mistake, but neither of them seem to want to listen to me. I try to struggle to free myself, but all I manage to do is weaken the knot in my towel. Lefiya. Suddenly Miss Ace's voice echoes from our side. She looks at me with clear confusion. You two are very close? I am petrified. My greatest fear is coming true. Although Belle-san is a human worthy of my respect, I already have my eyes set on someone else. That Miss Ace thinks that way is something I cannot allow no matter what. It's not what you think, really. Belle-san and I. Without warning, the knot of my towel ends up coming undone. Water falls. Now I am completely naked. With a face of shock followed by some nascent tears, Tiona-san looks at my body only to say a single sentence. Lefiya, traitor! Eh. I cover my body at the same time the shower door opens, revealing a beastly silhouette on the other side. Don't worry about it, Tiona. I can help you grow them by rubbing them. I wonder what's for dinner tonight. She wanted to pretend that she wasn't still affected. Someday they'll grow up. But her whispers indicated the opposite. It was fun to tease Lefiya a little, but I want to rest in my room now. Tiona-san very casually dodged the attack, followed by Tioni-san and finally Miss Ace. God, they've done pretty well. Loki spoke with some effort, having avoided his attack, made him stumble and fall to the ground directly with his face. None of them seemed to care about her in the slightest. Loki, you're in the way. How cruel! Loki looks at me with eyes bathed in fake tears. I don't have a good feeling. Lefiya, comfort me. Huh? What? Kaiawea! How horrible! Lefiya had brought her hands to her chest and covered them. Having Loki-sama touch me like that time felt very unpleasant. Yuga. Your perverted goddess writhed in false pain in her seat. You are lucky. In other circumstances I would go and teach you what pain really was. No, I can't cause any more problems for both of them. I have to calm down. I take a breath until I achieve it. Are you okay? Belle looked at her and took her hand again. They both smiled delicately. I won't let something like that happen to you again. I know. They both look at each other tenderly, in the way that only couples do. Ahem, aren't you forgetting someone? I caught her attention with a fake cough. Instantly Lefiya held my hand. Don't worry, Lefiya. We won't let that perverted goddess lay a finger on you again. Yes, you can count on it. I spoke and Belle followed me instantly. Thanks, hee. After all, you only like it when we two touch you like that, right? Yes, no. Your face turned red again. How cute. I really never get tired of seeing it. Don't say those things in public. I see you don't deny it, Fufu. Now you are making a cute pout. I can see how just like me, Belle is holding back from giving you a kiss right now. It's all your fault, Lefiya. Why do you have to be so sweet? I'm done talking. You Belle-san is next. She said it in her usual way, not in that tender tone she used to call our girlfriend. It seemed she was really angry. I guess we went a little too far. Bell seemed to understand this and without further delay continued with his part of the story. I was finally able to change my clothes. I sighed as I headed towards the guild. I had to see someone no matter how scared I was. Luckily Kami-sama hadn't returned from work and I had some spare clothes. Once I arrived at my headquarters located in an old church, I took off the clothes that Lefiya-san kindly lent me and put them away very carefully, preventing them from getting wrinkled or filled with dust. I had a second set of clothes, although they were exactly the same. In fact, all my clothes are identical. I think I should buy a wider variety. That's impossible. I don't have the money for that. I sighed heavily, discarding the idea instantly. I'd better hurry up, it's already a bit late. I quickened my pace. I had to see my guild advisor. Normally by now I should have already talked to her. I just hope she's not angry. I walked thinking about what happened today, how I almost died at the hands of a minotaur. I was really scared. Luckily Lefiya-san saved me. I owe her a lot. Huh! I stop abruptly. My advisor is at the entrance of the guild, her right foot repeatedly tapping the ground and she is looking in all directions. I have a bad feeling. Ina-san? Upon hearing my voice she stares at me and after a few seconds she starts walking towards me. Hey look! Some adventurers who were in the area begin to talk. Ina from the guild. What are you doing out here? Your shift isn't over, is it? She's so beautiful, I'd love to ask her out. She seems to ignore all those voices. Without giving me time to react she holds my hand and holds it firmly, but at the same time delicately. I had noticed this before, but every time I look at her I can't deny that Ina-san is very pretty. Her beauty is more natural, unlike the other elves who gave the impression of pure and perfect beauty. Is it because Ina-san is a half-elf? Come with me, Bell-kun. She spoke to me in a loving tone and after her words she began to guide me towards the doors of the guild. He's holding Ina-san's hand. I will kill that boy. How jealous! The intimidating glances and voices hurling curses at me didn't stop even when we entered the guild. Ina-san, without me saying anything, had begun to lead me to one of the private rooms. I swallowed instinctively. Ina-san, I think we're fine now, so our hands. Huh! She notices what happened. I can't see them, but I can feel the gazes of all the adventurers behind my back. Ah heavens, a tender blush forms on her delicate face. I can't believe it, Bell-kun. You haven't had any strange ideas about this, have you? And no, I don't. You better come in so we can talk. She looks at me correction. She looks in my direction, towards the other adventurers who instantly avert their faces. And once I stop feeling their gazes, Ina-san and I enter that room. Well? She was the first to break the silence while her eyes never stop looking directly at me. I feel as if I am being accused of some crime. I don't understand what you mean, Ina-san. The beautiful half-elf sighs, her eyes softening and she looks a little more relaxed. You spent much more time in the dungeon today. About that I actually got out of it a few hours ago, hee. I scratched behind my head with some discomfort. His inquisitive gaze had fallen on my shoulders again. When facing a monster I ended up covered in its blood all over my clothes. That's why I went to my headquarters first to change. He wasn't lying, or well, not entirely. That explanation seemed to be convincing enough for Ina-san. I'm glad I'm not good at lying. That makes me feel better. She sighs again as her body relaxes in her seat. I'm also glad to know that you didn't decide to come to the guild with that damn smell and absolutely horrible appearance. Who would do something like that? Hee. We laughed a little at how absurd it all would have been. Sorry for my attitude earlier, Bell-kun. The truth is that I had heard some rumors about a minotaur being sighted on the 5th floor of the dungeon and that it had attacked a rookie along with a member of the Loki familia. I'm glad it wasn't you. My face blushes at what Ina-san explained. I had gone down to that level when normally she told me to stay only until the 2nd floor of the dungeon. Unfortunately, my lie vanished. Why don't you listen to what I'm telling you? Not only did you enter the dungeon by yourself, but you also stubbornly went a few floors down. Haven't I told you many times? Taking risks is absolutely prohibited. SSI. Ina-san continued to scold me for a couple more minutes after that. Adventurers should not go on adventures. That was the opening statement Ina-san once made to me. Although it sounds contradictory in itself, I believe I understand its meaning. One must always be careful, be well prepared, and always put safety as a priority. Especially for a newbie like me. I guess I can't be so harsh on you this time, Belle-kun. Her initial anger seems to have calmed down a bit. Meeting a minotaur on the 5th floor when it should only appear on the 15th floor is something no one could have imagined. It's true, that appearance was very strange. He smiled without being able to help it. I am really very lucky that Lefiya-san arrived at that precise moment. If she hadn't been there at that moment, I would be dead. At first I wanted to have my fated meeting in the dungeon, save a cute girl, maybe even have a harem. That was too impure a desire. If she wanted to compensate Lefiya-san for risking her life for someone completely unknown to her, she had to throw away all those thoughts. My dream hasn't changed. I just wanted to be more worthy to repay the great courage Lefiya-san showed when saving my life. Yes, I had to make it up to her. By the way, Ina-san. Yes? She smiles at me. I'm glad to see that her anger has completely gone. What do you need, Belle-kun? Could you tell me everything you know about Lefiya Filvis? Silence. She stares at me. I think her anger hasn't completely gone away yet. I assume it was her that minotaur also attacked. I quickly nodded my head. I didn't want there to be any misunderstanding. As a member of the guild, I can't leak information about any adventurer, but I can tell you what is already known to others. That's how Ina-san told me a little more about her, that she was a second-class adventurer having reached level 3, playing the role of a magician. He even told me what his alias was. Thousand Elf. When I heard it, I couldn't help but feel some excitement. It was so cool. I internally wished that when I got mine it would be as cool. Anything else you need to know? Is that all there is? It doesn't say what your favorite food is or if you have any hobbies? I stop my questions when I see Ina-san's bright eyes along with a somewhat amused smile. Belle-kun, did you fall in love with Thousand Elf? It's not about that. My face turns red, my voice breaks. It takes me a few seconds to calm down again, and I look Ina-san straight in the eyes. It's not about that. I admit that Lefiya-san is very pretty, but she was the one who saved my life, and I just want to make it up to her. Ina-san gave a wry smile and brought a small cup of tea she prepared while telling me about Lefiya-san to her lips. A casual action, however, it was very elegant when she performed it. Part of her elven roots? I don't know. No wonder Ina-san also has high popularity among adventurers. You know Belle-kun? He left his drink on the small table that separated us. Now that I remember, Filvis-san isn't currently dating anyone. Ina-san! With a small laugh at his joke, she stood up from her seat, urging me to leave. I remembered that she was still working. I couldn't take up any more of her time. Once we left the room and returned to the morning entrance, I could notice that the place was almost empty. But the fact that there were no adventurers didn't mean that the guild employees were out of work. Would you exchange them? Yes, before I met the Minotaur, I finished off some monsters. I just realized something very important. I had left the few magic stones in my other set of clothes which Lefiya-san kept. Ina-san, I'll do it another time. I left the magic stones in my other clothes, haha. My goodness, I'm worried you're starting to get forgetful about those things, Belle-kun. I have no reward for today. Tomorrow I will have to work twice as hard. I left the guild somewhat depressed. Luckily Kami-sama always brings some leftover food from his work. Belle-kun. Yes, Ian-san? Just as I was about to return, Ina-san stopped me at the guild entrance. If you really want to make it up to Filvis-san, then don't give up. Become a strong and reliable man. Who knows, maybe one day you two will team up and support each other in the dungeon, but more importantly. At that moment she approaches me, leans slightly and points at me with her index finger while forming a more beautiful smile than usual. Whatever the situation, try to come back alive. At that moment I realized that she wasn't acting like a member of the guild, but rather like a friend who was encouraging me to keep going. I couldn't help but smile. I quickly ran away from the place and immediately turned my head and screamed. Ina-san, I love you! Huh! Once I confirmed that I had made her blush, I smiled the same way she did when I joked about Lefiya-san. I entered the crowd on the street and eventually retreated. The city of Oreo. A city where mysteries and desires gather around the dungeon. This is a city of adventurers. Are you saying I'm wrong? You still want to continue with that matter? Two adventurers were arguing next to me. From their appearance, I would say they are brothers. I can't help but hear them talking. Today we will also go to the dungeon. Our predestined meeting is waiting for us, brother. You're right, money, fame, and honor await us in the dungeon. Let's look for it together, brother. A subtle smile forms on my lips. Those words from those brothers were exactly my way of thinking when coming to this city. But now things are different, or at least a little. I should take advantage of the fact that I'm still close to the moon to follow the instructions that Lefiya-san gave me. With a smile, I head to see that place, the hostess of fertility. During my journey, I remember my hometown. It was a small rural town not far from Oreo, alien to the outside world, so I consider that I still know nothing about it. After my grandfather's death, I took the little money we had and left my village. If you're a man, you can't help but want a harem. That was what my grandfather usually told me when I was younger, talking about the benefits of having one, about the different qualities of women of different races. Now that I think about it, I think I must agree with him on something: female elves are very beautiful. Guru. My stomach is rumbling. A strong aroma begins to be perceived in the air. I think it was not a good idea to have come here without having eaten anything before. I am hungry and I do not have a single suitcase to buy anything. Well, it's not the first time I've spent a whole day without eating. I can now see the place that Lefiya-san described to me. Now that I know exactly the way, I can return to my headquarters. I turn around. I hope Kami-sama managed to get some food from his work. Suddenly, I quickly looked back, my steps stopping. An unpleasant feeling ran through my entire body. Although it wasn't a murderous intention, his mere presence made me shudder. A feeling of danger flooded my mind. A normal person is not capable of causing something of this scale. It was a relentless look. And just as suddenly as it had appeared, that oppressive feeling disappeared. This? A sweet voice sounds diagonally away from me. As I look at it, I realize that it was someone like me, a human girl. Are you okay? She asked me. She seemed worried. Did I look that bad a few moments ago? Yeah, I'm fine. I just felt a little tired, that's all. I see you're an adventurer, you shouldn't try so hard. She smiles at me kindly while handing me a violet blue crystal. You dropped this. A magic stone? Impossible. All the ones I had collected today were in my other set of clothes. I think you're confused about who I am. That one doesn't belong to me. I'm sure it's yours. She seemed very confident. Could it be that I forgot it in this change of clothes the last time I put it on? It's possible. Only an adventurer has a magic stone, yes, that has to be the case. I'm sorry, I thank you for that. No problem. She responded with a smile that made me feel comfortable. Have you just gotten out of jail? Not really, it's just that. Guru, my stomach growls again now in front of her. It was very embarrassing, sorry. Your stomach, are you hungry? She gently takes me by the arm and tries to drag me towards the hostess of fertility. Come and eat something. I, who was shy, had a hard time getting him to let me go. His face seemed a little sad about it, but it can't be helped. If I asked for something to eat, he wouldn't even have a single suitcase to pay with. I'm so sorry, but I have to meet Kami-sama. Again he had told a half-truth. She seemed to understand by not trying to drag me back inside. Adventurer-san, you just rejected a cute girl who even helped you just a few minutes ago. I gulp, hoping that no one heard those words that could easily be misinterpreted. I request something in return for this. Something in return? I think the worst. Tomorrow I want you to come here for dinner tomorrow, is that okay? That was all. I apologized internally to this girl for having thought the worst about her request. In compensation, I will give her an affirmative answer. I had already agreed with Lefiya-san to come tomorrow. Of course. It's a promise. Then I'll see you tomorrow. She looks at me with a cute innocent smile, wanting to put aside that just a few seconds ago she tried to blackmail me. Could you tell me your name, Adventurer-san? I'm Bel Cranel, may I also ask for your name? His smile grew wider, and without a hint of shame he approached me dangerously. My name is Sir Flover, don't forget it, Bel San. Honey, you were so innocent. I know, Filvis. You lower your head as if you had been scolded. In a certain way it's nice to see, or is it that everything you do seems nice to me? Luckily you didn't fall for his lies and charms. I stared at the goddess. She didn't make a sound, she just stared at the three of us. Disgusting. That was all I could think about when I saw her eyes. I'm tired of the gods looking at us like that. My Belkun is still innocent and very cute. Hestia raised her voice. When she saw me she noticed all her anger. In response I just smiled at her. I think about what I'm going to say, she'll get even angrier. But seeing her like that is funny. Indeed, my love is still very cute. I take his cheek and caress it gently while I look at his goddess and put on an arrogant smile. I hope it bothers them, since it's the same kind of smile they always give us. But it's not innocent at all anymore, right, Lefiya? Please don't involve me in this. You blush at the same time that Haraheim and the blacksmith prevent the annoying goddess from jumping here. But Bel, you were a little rough with me. Lefiya. It seems that the royal elf could not believe the words of her successor. She just lowered her head. She could notice the tips of her ears a little red. Keep an attitude appropriate to the situation, he shouted from his seat. Are Riveria Sama? Don't be depressed, Lefiya. It's normal that for a spinster like her, your words are too much for her to easily assimilate. The atmosphere becomes tense. By instinct Bel stands in front of us. Even without his weapons his will to protect us does not disappear. Perhaps he shouldn't provoke them so much. Damn monster! What did you do to my Belkun? You corrupted Lefiya! These were the complaints of several people, both members of the Hestia Familia and the Loki Familia. I really need to stop provoking them. With that thought I take a calmer attitude. I soften my gaze, I calmly take my cute rabbit from the man and I look at everyone present. I'm sorry for my attitude, but I assure you that I didn't do anything to them. He smiled slightly when he saw Haraheim. In truth, she is the only one he really regrets having lied to. I have no reason to be their enemy. Now all I want is to enjoy my life, the new life that they gave me. The place fell silent. The gods present did not detect lies in my words. I know it by the complicated expressions that were drawn on their faces. I don't expect them to just absolve me of all my sins, but at least if I'm calmer and don't provoke them, maybe they won't be so harsh with them. That damn rabbit! Suddenly, that annoying guy's voice echoed through the place. Bet, calm down. The brave spoke, but his authority didn't seem to be much of a deal as that unpleasant fellow continued to dirty the peaceful silence with his voice. That useless elf and the damn rabbit should never have saved you, monster. Okay, I guess I can be hostile and piss him off with my harsh words. After all, that guy deserves them. What's wrong, werewolf? With a perspective tone I look him straight in the eyes. Are you jealous that Bel and Lefiya can save the people they care about and you can't? Even in my state I can hear the gnashing of their teeth and the breaking of wood under their strong grip on the table. You deserve it, damn it, for telling them that way. How pathetic. His gaze becomes angry. It seems like he is about to attack me. But he doesn't. He knows perfectly well that if he tries he would be arrested, and even worse, he would only confirm my words. Damn, he expels all his hatred towards me in that one word. You caused all this indirectly. What do you mean by that? The captain of the Loki family looked at me while occasionally looking at the werewolf, who was clearly confused, and some people were demanding answers. This all started because of your attitude that day at the Hostess of Fertility. Lefiya's family seemed to remember it. Although I was not directly present that day, I could see and hear everything from a distance. That day, both Bel and Lefiya had spoken. The day we both agreed to meet at that place. It had become a tradition for the Loki Familia to celebrate in bars around the city after expeditions. This was Loki's way of showing his appreciation to his followers. Although if you asked me, I think he's just taking the opportunity to drink large amounts of alcohol. I'm sure many of them thought the same thing, but they didn't say anything. After all, most of them shared their appreciation for a good drink. The sun had already set by the time we left our headquarters. Luckily, I had all day to finish unpacking my luggage. and right now. I hope you didn't get lost. I think about Belle-san while holding her clothes wrapped in a small blanket. There were even some magic stones inside her clothes. I just hope she didn't need them. I'm happy, I admit it. How could I not be? I'm walking next to Miss Ace. My teacher Reveria-sama had invited me to sit with her along with the executives of my family, and if he doesn't get lost, it would compensate a little to the person who saved my life. By the way, Lefiya. Yeah? Tioni-san approached me. She had a smile on her face that made me somewhat uncomfortable. Why are you carrying those men's clothes in your hands? Her words made some women turn their gaze towards me. Are you hoping to meet that boy you worried so much about? Does Lefiya have a boyfriend? That's impossible. She's not interested in romance, or is she? My face blushes, being in full view of all the women, and some men. I remain silent, not knowing what to say or do. What a disappointment. I'm still a coward. Hey, don't bother Lefiya. Surprisingly, Tiona-san pushes those other girls away and stands between her own sister and me. I saw Lefiya with that boy and they seemed to be good friends. Friends? I ask myself this question, is Belle-san my friend? We only met yesterday and interacted for a few minutes. What I'm doing is just to repay her for helping me. Belle-san is someone to admire, much braver than me. I don't think I'm even worthy of being considered that way. Let's not get distracted. Tiona-san hugs me by the neck while she has that warm smile so usual in her. I'm glad she helped me. Lefiya's stomach can't take it anymore. It's been growling constantly. Who are you? Wait. Tiona, what are you saying? I take back my words. Laughter rang out in the group. I shyly hugged Belle-san's clothes. I don't know why I did it. I guess to have some of the courage she showed. What nonsense. We continued on our way until we finally arrived. Mamma mia! Those who made the reservation have arrived! One of the waitresses had announced our arrival. The others immediately greeted us, welcoming us. Everyone working here was a woman wearing the same uniform. It was no surprise to anyone that this was one of the reasons why this place was Loki's favorite. We have tables prepared for you inside and on the terrace. We apologize for the inconvenience. It's not a problem. Thanks. I wasn't surprised. Even though I had made the reservation more than a day in advance, it was difficult for this place to serve such a large group. The elf who served us took most of the group to the terrace, while Loki, the executives, and I stayed inside the bar. That way our drinks would arrive sooner as well as the hot food. Well, everyone worked very hard in exploring the dungeon. With a large mug of beer in his hand, Loki addressed us. So let's begin today's feast. We were all excited. Even though I feel like I don't belong at this table, I'm smiling. Cheers! Health! We joined our goddess and stood up from the table for a moment, clinking the mugs in our hands before taking our first sip. I'm not particularly a beer fan, I'm just drinking it so I can fit in with the group a bit. How pathetic. Our table was located in the corner of the main room. We could perfectly see the entrance of the place, and no time did I take my eyes off it. From the moment I arrived, I looked for it with my eyes. It had not arrived. I just hope I gave him good directions and that he didn't get lost along the way. The food and drinks started arriving at our table. I admit, everything looked delicious. Many hands started taking large portions and bringing them to their plates. I had a bit of a hard time making my way to grab something to eat. With some luck, he was able to grab some fruity wine, which I liked better than beer. Captain, I'll pour you another drink. Thanks, Tioni. But you know, this is the third time already. I'm not used to drinking so fast. Is this some kind of plan to get me drunk? Fufu, not at all. Now try this. Tioni-san, as usual, did not stop his advances. With Fin-san. That damn Amazon never changes. Bet seemed upset, although he is always like that. I try not to look at him directly. Gareth. I'm going to drink until I see you on the floor. Really? Fine, then I'll do the same. Loki and Gareth-san had started another of their drinking endurance contests. I just hope he doesn't get too excited like the previous times. I declare that the winner will have the right to fully enjoy Riveria's breasts. Then I'll participate too. Me too. Me too! Several of the other group had arrived upon hearing such absurd words from Loki. He didn't know what to do. This was crazy. He tried to look at Fin-san to put some order and stop this madness. Then me too! I'm in! Kick! I'll participate! Captain? This is a nightmare. Even Fin-san joined in on this madness. With my face flushed with fear of what might happen to my teacher, I look at her. She was sitting next to him. Even with all this commotion, she looked calm, elegantly sipping her glass of wine. Our Reveria-sama. Let them say it. Her words reassure me a little. She would never let something like that happen. She could do it. She was strong. Strong. I think of that word again. Reveria-sama took me as her apprentice, and I am very grateful for that. It is a great honor. But I sometimes feel that she only did it because of my special magic. No, I shouldn't think that way. She chose me for a reason. I just have to try hard and move on. I shake my head. I notice that I had held Belle-san's clothes again. Now that I think about it, it's already taking a while. Isn't she planning to come? I feel a little discouraged, but I don't blame him. Maybe he came home tired from the dungeon, or he doesn't want to go out so late to a place he doesn't even know. If that's the case, I'll go to the guild tomorrow, ask who the person in charge is, and leave her with that person. Then, Ace-san. Let's drink together, okay? Being immersed in my thoughts, I failed to notice how two novice adventurers had approached Miss Ace. But I. He responded without knowing what else to do or say. They insisted once more. Stop it, you idiots! Don't make her drink. To my surprise, Bet had held them by their heads tightly. Looking at him in an intimidating manner, there was that attitude of his again, using his strength to an extreme against much weaker people. I'll keep your pathetic drinks. Now get out of this table. Keeping his word, Bet had snatched their beer mugs and drank them in front of their faces. None of them had the courage to confront him. None of the executives of my family said anything to him. Ace can't drink any alcohol, Tiona-san approaches us. With her typical smile, she carefree hugs Miss Ace. The last time Ace drank, Loki was almost killed or something like that. Tiona, please don't say more. Ha! Ace's face is so red. Tiona-san hugged Miss Ace with great confidence. She looked so cute with that big blush on her face. It was rare to see her like that. It was more common to find some extremely rare item in the dungeon than to see an expression like that from her. Despite everything that happened, we were all laughing and enjoying each other's company. For a second I managed to forget my worries and just let myself get carried away by the laughter. It's really nice. I just regret that Belle-san didn't come, but I can't do anything about that. After all, he and I weren't even. Oh, right, Ace! Tell us about that thing we found earlier! Bet instantly raised his voice, clearly wanting everyone in the bar to hear him. Next to him were several empty jugs. Those were the ones he had stolen from other members of the family, or even other adventurers. The few who tried to resist lay on the ground. Apparently he had knocked them out. How did I not notice before? And even worse, why did Fin-san, Gareth-san or Reveria-sama stop him? Not even Loki herself did anything. That thing? Miss Ace looked confused. She had tilted her head to one side. You know about those minotaurs that ran away on the way back. Do you remember? The mere mention of that event made my body start to tremble a little. You finished off the last one on the 5th floor before they killed that tomato boy. This elf is already weak. His intimidating gaze fell upon me. A bitter feeling of displeasure and helplessness began to flood my heart. Are you talking about those who attacked us on the 17th floor? Yes, those same ones. One of those bastards managed to get to the 5th floor. His smile became more pronounced. It was full of arrogance. At that moment we managed to hear the last one left. Ace went ahead, and when I arrived she had already finished off the monster. But do you want to know the funniest thing? A deep silence had dominated the entire bar. Not only the members of my family had remained silent, even the other adventurers fell silent. Everyone was listening attentively to what Bet was saying. The Minotaur had cornered a damn rookie and the successor of our noble elf. His words were said in a sarcastic, extremely hurtful tone. Stop, is all I can think as I hold on tightly to Belle-san's clothes. They were cornered like scared bunnies. Even that damn rookie ended up covered in that bastard's smelly blood. I begin to see how the people around me begin to form weak laughs on their faces. Please don't continue. I feel my eyes getting wet. But what I couldn't stand was seeing this coward. As she pointed at me, I could feel as if all my worries and fears were staring me in the face. Crying inconsolably while hugging that tomato boy. Ha! He began to laugh as much as his lungs could bear. Little by little the other people began to imitate him. I didn't kill the Minotaur. Miss Ace clarified. I thought that would be the end of everything. I was wrong as for several. That's impossible. There's no way a novice and a mage who gets cold feet before casting a spell could kill one of those stinking cows. Don't say anything else, please, someone stop him. Pathetic, I am pathetic. I am not even able to raise my voice in my own defense. I was just waiting for someone else to step in. Nobody did it. I'm alone. Just look, even without a monster present, she's scared. I can no longer stop my tears from spilling. They were falling on Belsan's clothes. And so you want us to believe that she defeated a Minotaur? Why are you lying, Ace? You know as well as I do that she's just a weakling. His accusatory tone did not diminish one bit. You shouldn't be at this table with us. The only reason they let you is because you are their student. And yet they only accept you for your rare magic. That's the only thing of value you have. I start crying silently. I tried to hang my head in a pathetic attempt to preserve some of my pride. I have none of that. Even though it hurts me, this guy's words are true. Riveria-sama only recognized me for my rare magic. I'm not strong, I'm not fast, I'm not brave. Yes, I'm not like Belsan. It was Belsan who, despite being weak, faced the Minotaur. It was thanks to him that I was able to cast my magic to finish it. I am alive thanks to him. You went too far this time, Bet. Thin-san's voice managed to be heard. Don't say anything else. The last thing I want is for them to start talking badly about us after returning from an expedition. He didn't defend me. This just confirms it. Weren't we celebrating? Bet raises his voice again. And what better way to celebrate than by telling stories and jokes like that last one? He starts laughing and everyone follows him. They were making fun of what Belsan and I had to go through. I hate it. I don't want them to continue. I want them to shut up. But I can't. I just stay crying in silence. Callens! And at that moment I heard your voice again. I think it was around this place. I found myself walking in a bit of a hurry. I had gotten a bit late. I was holding the clothes that Lefiya-san lent me with my own hands. I tried to find something to wrap them in, but all there were some dirty pieces of cloth. Resigned, I have no choice but to hold it with my bare hands. Fortunately, the street I was walking on was not very busy with people. I just have to be careful not to bump into anyone or have my clothes fall to the ground. I had a bit of a hard day in the dungeon today. Luckily this time I was able to get some valises. I begin to recognize the place better. I want to save some money, but I guess I can afford to order something to eat after meeting Lefiya-san. I just hope the food isn't too expensive. My goddess often brought me leftover food from her work. I appreciate that she does that. It's just that I don't think it's healthy to eat jagamurukan every day. Yesterday when I arrived at our headquarters, Kami-sama had returned very tired. So as not to worry her, I did not tell her anything about what happened with the Minotaur, partly at Loki-sama's request not to talk about her. When I return after collecting my clothes and eating something, I will ask Kami-sama to update my status. I arrived. I managed to hear a lot of laughter inside the place. That must be Lefiya-san's family. I'm a little nervous. I just hope they are as nice as her. Just a few steps from reaching the door, I could hear a man's loud voice. Oh, right, Ace. Tell us about that thing we found earlier. Ace? Oh, right, I've heard something about her. It must refer to Ace Wallenstein, the Sword Princess, member of the Loki Familia and first-class adventurer. I happily approach after taking a few more steps, but before I can enter I hear everyone's laughter change tone. I recognize it instantly. It was the same kind of laughter that those adventurers who rejected me from their families gave me just for looking weak. Ah, Belle-san, you came! Seer-san approached me with that radiant smile, but I was unable to return her greeting. Belle-san? I heard them talking. You know, About those minotaurs that ran away on the way back. Remember? You finished off the last one on the 5th floor before they killed that tomato boy. This elf is already weak. I have no doubt they are talking about Lefiya-san and me. They were cornered like scared bunnies. Even that damn rookie ended up covered in that bastard's smelly blood. Without realizing it, my fists clench. But what I couldn't stand was seeing this coward crying inconsolably while hugging that tomato boy. Ha! Why are you making fun of Lefiya-san? Isn't she part of her own family? I didn't kill the minotaur. I don't understand it, I don't like it. Is that all they'll say to defend her? Why is everyone still laughing? That's impossible. There's no way a novice and a mage who gets cold feet before casting a spell could kill one of those stinking cows. You're wrong. Lefiya-san is very brave. She saved me even without knowing me. She faced that monster. Just look, even without a monster present she's scared, and so you want us to believe that she defeated a minotaur. Why are you lying to me? You know as well as I do that she's just a weakling. Call. You shouldn't be at this table with us. The only reason they let you is because you are there. Student. And yet they only accept you for your rare magic. That's the only thing of value you have. Call him. You went too far this time, Bet. Don't say anything else. The last thing I want is for people to start talking badly about us after returning from an expedition. That's all they care about. I can't stand it anymore. Bibel-san, what are you going to? I ignore Seer-san's words. I take off my coat as quickly as I can to leave the clothes that Lefiya-san lent me on the floor so they don't get dirty. Laughter. I just hear that laughter non-stop. Sorry Grandpa, sorry Kami-sama, sorry Aina-san. I will commit a madness again. Weren't we celebrating? I managed to see the origin of such cruel words. It was a werewolf. He looks strong, I don't care. And what better way to celebrate than by telling stories and jokes like that last one? When I entered, it wasn't seeing his face with an arrogant smile that made me angry. What really made me angry was seeing Lefiya-san crying. Callens! Everyone is looking at me. I am agitated. My breathing is irregular. Right now I am facing one of the strongest families. Bibel-san? I heard my name come out of Lefiya-san's lips. She was still sobbing. W.Y.? Is that the boy that Lefiya helped? Yes, I told you it looked like a rabbit. Two Amazons spoke to each other. Take back what you said. I pointed directly at the werewolf, and with a deafening noise he slammed his beer mug down on the table and stood up. He was tall, much taller than me, and just by looking at him I could tell he was strong. A first-class adventurer, of that I have no doubt. Maybe it was my anger, maybe it was my stupidity, maybe it was a mixture of both. But even in this situation, I didn't back down even a bit or lower my voice. How can you say that? Lefiya-san is from her own family. They are the Loki family, one of the strongest in the city. I look at them at the same time that some look away from me. Lefiya-san is brave, she is very kind, her magic is incredible, and the most surprising thing about her is that she is level 3. Without realizing it, she finally looks up, a few last tears falling down her cheeks. Most adventurers never get that far, so those who say he's weak are just the despicable people. They're just belittling all his efforts. And I take a breath. I need to speak in a louder tone so everyone can hear me. It's even worse that such cruel words come from your own family. They're supposed to support each other, not tear each other down. How can you say all that and even worse, mock the person who says it? Belle-san, new tears run down her cheeks, but this time she was having a slight smile. Sorry Lefiya, I think we went a little too far. Excuse us. I'm sorry. Some members are starting to apologize. It seems that if it was a good idea to intervene, I'm glad. Hey, moron. Belle-san, be careful. Huh? In less than a second that werewolf appeared in front of me. He was fast, so fast that I couldn't even see when he moved. The only thing I felt was a sharp pain in my abdomen and that I was now outside the bar. My body is burning. I am unable to say a single word. I have no breath in my lungs. When will I reach the other end of the street? Why is part of my vision turning red? I get it, my head is bleeding. Bet, what the hell is wrong with you? You can't. I know, no need to cause trouble in here, that's why I took that trash outside. I hear them, but I'm too stunned to even understand what they meant. Another second step, my breath hadn't recovered when I vomited without being able to help it. It's strong, that's all I thought, too much. Is this the strength of a first-class adventurer? Bet, stop right now! I don't give a damn what you say, Amazon. Without being able to do anything to defend myself, this werewolf grabs me by the neck only to throw me against the wall again. I fell to the ground with a bang. It hurts, my body hurts. Imbeciles like him have no right to speak to us, much less lecture us. Too bad, I'm starting to see blurry. I can only notice how some other people come out to talk to this guy. This will only make us look bad. I've already lost the desire to continue drinking. Strong, if only I were strong, these things wouldn't happen. I weakly clench my fists, refusing to faint. I look at him. I look straight at that werewolf. Damn, it seems that seeing him directly in the face bothered him. He approaches once more. I try to get up. Incredibly, I manage to do it slowly. Stop! And before that werewolf hit me again, I saw her. Once again, Lefiya-san was protecting me. Belle-san is only a level 1. You're shaking, I can tell. You're scared, and yet you defend me again now from your own family. I won't let. Do you have a problem with saying that trash is just trash? He looks at me over Lefiya-san's shoulder. At least that idiot has the courage to open his mouth, unlike you who, even though you're level 3, still need a pathetic level 1 to defend you. It's true. I speak with difficulty. I step forward and hold on to Lefiya-san's shoulder. I have touched her again. Even if she does not follow the traditions of her race, she should later. I'm pathetically weak, but that's why I. Before saying what I thought, I ran out of the place. Belle-san! I could hear Lefiya-san and Seer-san's voice behind me. I didn't back away, I kept running. I feel pathetic, frustrated by my own weakness. Is this what it means to be strong? No, I reject that idea. I will prove it. Words are of no use. Only actions are what really matter. Belle-san! I called out loudly, but nothing more. I just watched him walk away. I lowered my head. I didn't notice when he had dropped his clothes. They were now dirty again from having fallen onto the dirty floor. Belle-san. I noticed the clothes I lent to Belle-san. Despite being on the floor, they were still clean since they were on top of a coat. I'm sorry. What an idiot! If he's going to cry like a baby, he'd rather never have become an adventurer. At that moment, Bet opens his disgusting mouth again. I look him straight in the eyes, but before he could respond, someone else finally spoke. That's enough, Bet! My teacher faced him. It was our fault in the first place that those minotaurs escaped. I could see how Fin-san was going to speak, but it only took one look from my teacher to change his mind. What you said to Lefiya and what you did to that young boy was too much. Even for you. I had never seen her so angry before. Learn some respect, everyone. You elves and your pride. What's the purpose of protecting some pathetic weaklings? You're just trying to protect your ego because you felt guilty for laughing too. Clicking his tongue, Bet began to leave, probably heading to another bar to drink alone. Trash is trash. What's wrong with calling things by what they really are? With that last word, he finally left the place. Forgive me for not intervening sooner, Lefiya. Reveria-sama? His face looked clearly sad. He didn't say any more words. He just stood silently beside me. I silently pick up Belle-san's clothes and look towards the direction she ran off. I feel a small pain in my chest. He helped me again, and I couldn't even thank him this time. Even worse, it's most likely that after this he won't want to talk to me again, and he'll be afraid of my family. I wouldn't blame him. The night we should have celebrated was anything but peaceful. What a waste of time. I sigh with resignation. I hate having to see that guy spend my time watching that kid instead of spending time with Dionysus-sama. I lie to myself. Even though I want to spend time with him, he doesn't want me around. He's a crybaby. I look at him from the top of a nearby building. Luckily the day is over. Now I will return to the ruins of what I consider a family seat, and I will finally be able to return to mine. I watch him run while still crying. In the end, he's just a child. Huh! That's not the address of your headquarters, My eyes widened slightly in shock. That child is running, not towards safety next to his goddess, quite the opposite. He is heading towards the dungeon? I put my slight impression aside and start following him. I hate him a little more for this. I already wanted to go back to the man I love. Damn it, damn it, damn it! I'm running. I had to run. My tears wouldn't stop coming out. I can't stop thinking about what just happened. I feel shame, frustration, anger towards my own weakness. I am tired of being the laughingstock of others. Is this what it means to be strong? No. I refuse. I flatly reject that idea. Idiot! I'm an idiot! That werewolf's words hurt me much more than his blows. Weak, poor, fragile, delicate, spineless, puny, powerless, vulnerable, pathetic. It's not about Lefiya-san anymore. It's about of what I want. If I don't do everything, how will I be able to fulfill my dream? I came out alive against that minotaur, but nothing changed. Everything I did today was exactly the same. I must change. I must try much harder. There it is! My goal is clear, the dungeon. Small drops of water began to fall on my face. It was beginning to rain. With the moon as the only witness, I entered without thinking twice. I don't know how much time passed since I came in. Ha! Right now I'm fighting a frog-shaped monster. It had only one big eye. I attacked it with my dagger, piercing its flesh and causing large amounts of blood to come out of its body. The monster known as Frog Shooter, who used its long tongue as a weapon against adventurers, fell dead beside me. Its blood stained the sole of my shoes. Its body will not disappear until I extract the magic stone from its body. I looked at the monster for a few moments, and then turned around to walk and look at my surroundings. I ignored the fatigue in my limbs and continued forward through the dungeon corridors. I don't know where I am. I didn't bring any armor. My whole body was covered in claw marks from the monsters I've faced. My clothes are torn. My right hand won't let go of my dagger, which is dripping with the blood of the monsters I've faced. Since I ran out of that bar, I ran to the dungeon, just to chase and kill as many monsters as possible. I admit my own imprudence. Where am I? Then I looked at the walls of the dungeon, not recognizing anything around me. The light blue walls had changed to a light green. The width of the path became much smaller. The structure itself had changed. It had become much more complicated. 5th floor, no. I held my only weapon a little tighter. I'm on the 6th floor. I should have gone back, but it was impossible. Something inside me was driving my reckless actions. With a more irregular breathing due to my accumulated fatigue throughout the day, along with the blows from that guy, began to take their toll on my body. How long ago did I enter the dungeon? I asked myself without having a clear answer. A dead end. After continuing to walk, I found myself at the end of the path. It was a square room. Without thinking things through, I walked to the center of the place, thinking that there would be a small hallway that I didn't see. There was none of that. The only way out was the same way I came in. And then, I finally understood that I was in a dangerous place too late, in fact. Crack. I turned my head quickly as I heard the sound of something breaking. One of the walls was beginning to crack, and just a second later it broke. A monster had been born in front of me. Its appearance could only be described as that of a shadow. With a height of 1.60 meters, it had a body similar to mine in terms of build. Its only difference is the shape of its head, which is cross-shaped, and its face resembles a mirror. I recognized it instantly. It was a war shadow. Crack. Without warning, a second war shadow had been born behind me. I turned my body so as not to lose sight of anyone. 2 against 1? I'm at a disadvantage. I raise my only dagger and prepare for battle. The war shadow are the strongest monster that spawns on the 6th floor. A rookie adventurer like me shouldn't stand a chance. I should run, get away from this place as soon as possible. I can't do it. I remember what happened at the bar again. A strong determination burned inside me. These monsters have no vocal organs and remain in an eerie silence. Both of them looked at me, and in a single instant one of them attacked me. With his fingers as sharp as daggers, the first one attacked me. He was fast, much faster than any kobold or any goblin. My body felt it only in its first movement. Even though I thought I had dodged its attack, if it ended up causing me a direct wound, I could do nothing but dodge the attack of both. Although they were repetitive, it did not make it easier to face them. My body was like a log. My vision was already blurred by the huge amount of sweat and fresh blood. Suddenly, the same thought that happened with that minotaur crossed my mind. My life was in danger. I'm going to die. A deadly attack was headed towards me. At that moment, the faces of Kami-sama and Aina-san passed through my mind. Without realizing it, I had dodged that attack by jumping as far back as I could. I can't give up so easily. I start to dodge all of his attacks, but some of them even graze me. I have to be stronger. I have to overcome all obstacles if I want to fulfill my dream. I can win. I get excited for a second, a serious mistake. Ouch! A sudden attack hit my shoulder, causing me to drop my dagger, while I thought unnecessarily that the war shadow had directly attacked my body with its closed fist, which flew out with its force. The scene repeats itself. I'm lying on the ground while the monster stands up about to kill me. One last memory flashes through my mind. Lefiya-san's face. Yes, she won't appear to save me once again. I can't always depend on the help of others. With a strong push, I managed to dodge the creature's attack and approached it. Screaming desperately, I used all my strength to clench my fist as hard as I could and threw my punch right in my enemy's face. When I realized my fist had pierced not only the war shadow's face but also its entire head, with a final spasm the monster stopped moving. I must not stop now. Using all the speed my legs allowed me, I quickly picked up my dagger, and with the momentum gained, I not only approached the remaining monster, but I made a horizontal cut that went through its chest, and more importantly, I felt when its magic stone split in half, killing it and causing it to completely disintegrate, leaving nothing but ashes. Ha 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 ha! I'm agitated, my body is shaking, my heart is beating so fast, it almost seems like it's about to burst out of my chest at any moment. I won! I can't believe I won! Without thinking twice, I turned my gaze towards the only entrance and began to walk towards it. I had to get out of this place before. Crack. 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 From the 6th floor onwards, the frequency of monster birth was completely different from what I was used to. From my back, even on the walls around my only escape route, a large number of war shadow began to emerge. Not only war shadow emerged, but even some frog shooter appeared. I pick up the loot from the ashes near me, one of the sharp fingers of the second war shadow I killed. I hold it tightly. Even if my hand gets cut by it, it doesn't matter, my team is complete now. Let's do this then. I look at all my enemies. I don't need to say anything else. I don't need to think about anything else. I just have to fight to get out of this dungeon alive. The path to becoming someone strong will not be easy. I won't lose so easily. I will return to Kami-sama's side. Besides, I still haven't made up for everything Lefiya-san has done for me. I, who was holding 2 weapons, narrowed my eyes. I, who was cornered, had no intention of giving up. There is a height I wanted to reach, a dream to fulfill. I, who was surrounded by the roars of monsters, was renewed. I held my weapons tightly and began to fight for my life. For my dream of one day becoming a hero. You were about to die again in less than 2 days, and yet you still thought of me. Without warning, Lefiya, who was blushing a lot, had given Belle a kiss on the cheek. Stupid rabbit, she looked very happy. I remember that moment. I interrupt my partner's words. That was the first time I shuddered when I saw that heroic side of you, darling. You just laughed with some embarrassment. You always get that way when they tell you that you acted like a hero. Get used to it, because from now on I will tell you this very often. Filvis, Lefiya looks at me. She looked calm, unlike some after our boyfriend's words. Since when were you looking at him? I'm not going to lie to you, not to them. All the time since what happened at the bar. I see. Are you mad? No, that's not it. I'm glad, in a way, Belle wasn't alone after that happened. You're really very kind. I guess part of that made me fall in love with you too. Impossible. I can only think about that. Isn't that kid supposed to be just a level 1? He hasn't even been an adventurer for 6 months. How is it possible that he is still fighting? Since I followed him into the dungeon, I saw how he carelessly faced all the monsters that crossed his path, wishing for your death and to free myself from this punishment. When you were swallowed by a frog shooter, I thought it would finally happen, but you survived. I watched in frustration as you managed to defeat him, forcing me to watch you for who knows how long and making me descend to the 6th floor. I was tired. I even considered killing you with my own hands. I didn't, since just at that moment you entered that dead-end hallway that was clearly a trap. I really was a rookie. Any idiot would have realized the danger, and yet you still entered. 2 War Shadow appeared. Just one was already too much for someone of your level, and again I couldn't believe it when you defeated 2 of them completely alone. But what I'm seeing is crazy. This what Dionysus-sama is afraid of? Did the goddess Hestia do something to make that child face this danger? I look at him, slashing the monsters non-stop, turning them into nothing but ashes. He's aiming straight for their magic stones. He's taking damage, but he's not stopping. Cut after cut, blow after blow, he is slowly winning. Did many families really reject you because they thought you looked weak? Without realizing it, I stood there watching their struggle, ignoring my own surroundings. After a few more minutes, the room was completely silent, with only small piles of ashes on the floor. I had achieved it. Is this his own natural talent? This is bad. I take my dagger. If I let a talent like this develop one day, I could be a threat to his plans. I prepare to attack him, but before he takes a single step. Hey you! Did he discover me? Careful! Before I could think of anything, his dagger was thrown in my direction, but not directly at me. When I turned my face, I could see how that dagger had pierced the chest of another war shadow who was about to attack me. Are you? Hey, did you leave? Before he finishes speaking and gets closer to me, I run away. Apparently I can't see that it was me who was watching him. For a second I think about going back and killing him, but on the other hand I don't want to make Dionysus-sama any angrier. He ordered me to just watch him. For now I will just report what I saw. Huh! I noticed that something was missing. Where is my dagger? I instantly remembered, I had dropped it seconds ago. Damn, he has it, that's what he wanted to tell me. Denying my fate, there was no way to return for her. Hopefully Dionysus-sama will let me kill him and I will get her back. And if for some reason he sells her, then I will not be merciful, and I will prolong his pain before ending it. Where did you go, Belkuen? I hear it. It's the voice of Kami-sama through the door of my headquarters, late in arriving since I left the dungeon. When I did, it was still very dark, but right now the sun had already risen, giving rise to a new day. Kaya. The moment I opened the door, I could feel something crashing against it, followed by something heavy falling to the floor. I realized instantly. I had hit my goddess in the face with the door. Kami-sama, I'm sorry. Belkuen? She, who was covering her face, reddened by the blow, when she heard my voice, took her hands away to look at me. What happened to you? His cheerful tone turned into one of great concern. Why do you have so many wounds? Were you attacked by someone? It's not about that. So, what happened? Between the dungeon. A second of complete silence passes. Idiot! I made her angry, it's normal. What were you thinking when you entered the dungeon like this? And also the whole night? He was an idiot. What I did was completely crazy. The simple fact of getting here alive could not be considered anything other than a miracle. I'm sorry. I have nothing more to tell you. Entering the dungeon without any defensive equipment like I did is the same as entering naked. A single direct attack on my body would have been fatal. I was really very lucky. Why did you do something so unreasonable? As if you were giving up on yourself? That's not like you. I put on an expression that is difficult to decipher even for me. Apparently Kami-sama noticed and left his tone and words of scolding to ones of understanding and support. I see. I won't interfere anymore. You are surprisingly stubborn, Belkuen. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. She gently used her small body to help me walk. My knee is injured. That's why it took me so long to arrive. It seems that the bleeding has already stopped. That's good. Wash yourself carefully, and when you're done I'll heal the rest of your wounds. Yes, thanks. With his help I enter my headquarters, a small room in the basement of a ruined church. I know that under no circumstances could it be considered a family headquarters as such, but it doesn't matter, regardless of its appearance it is very warm. I know, I'll let you sleep in the bed, okay? Injured people need to rest comfortably. Are you sure? I start to see blurry, and my legs are about to collapse. I guess I will faint this time. We could even share a bed together. I was really worried about you. You don't want to refuse, right? Fufu. Yes, then let's sleep together, Kami-sama. What? I slowly close my eyes. Are you sure? Why, yes, but first. With the little strength I had left, I take off my shirt. It wasn't difficult. It's full of scratches, Kami-sama. Yeah. Standing next to the bed, I lean my body back and fall onto something soft. I didn't know the old mattress had this softness. BB Belkun, why you're all over my BBBB. I can't hear clearly what my goddess is telling me. I have to hurry up to tell her what I want before I faint. Belkun, I am a virgin goddess. This isn't right, B, but if it's you, then we are the same. Why, yes. I leaned my body towards what seemed to be his ear. With the little strength I had left, I spoke to him. Please update my status, I want to be strong. And with his gentle embrace and sweet tone, I was finally able to rest safely in his arms. Bell Cranel. LV 1. Strength G221. Resistance H101. Dexterity G232. Agility F313. Magic I0. Magic. Skills. Free Liar. Accelerates growth. The effects last as long as your feelings do not change. The effects are determined by the strength of your feelings. These were Belkun's stats after that event. The goddess Hestia held a small piece of paper in her hands. The secret of said skill had already been revealed. There was no longer any reason to hide it. At that time I wasn't opposed to your desire to be stronger, and to be honest, I still don't. I notice how Belle's expression falls a little at the words of her goddess. I respect it and I still do, but I can't accept that things ended like this. With her you promised me that you wouldn't leave me alone. Kami-sama, I'm sorry, and I thank you for everything you've done for me since you let me join your family. He holds my hand again, looks at me for a few moments only to smile at me and see his goddess again. But I don't regret anything I've done, much less having fallen in love with Filvis. The goddess's hair covered her eyes, small tears began to spill out in a silent, contained cry. I have no regrets, nor do I feel remorse, not for her at least. Don't leave me out. Puffing out her cheeks a little, Lefiya took control of the conversation. You almost gave me a heart attack when you told me all that. I'm sorry, hee. They both looked at each other for a few moments. The werewolf had thankfully remained silent. Was he thinking that he could have achieved the same when he was still level 1? I don't know, and I don't really care what he thinks. It seems I'm not the only one, the story continued. There was no time to stop. The sun is shining brightly. It must be afternoon. It was already very late, or at least it was at the time I usually wake up. It was no wonder after how tired I was. Even though Kami-sama updates my status, my body still hurts. I walk to the guild to talk to Aina-san. I don't want to worry her again. After that maybe I'll go to the dungeon once more, but this time I'll stay on the first floors, at least for this day while my body finishes healing. My stats have increased a lot. I'm happy despite the state of my body. Although it's a shame that Kami-sama made a mistake in the skills parts, I wish I had one. I sigh a little. I couldn't do anything about it. Huh! I forget my pain when I recognize a figure in the distance, almost reaching the guild doors. Without thinking, I start running to catch up with her. I'm a little impressed. Even without putting much effort into my steps, I move faster than usual. Lefiya-san! I call her excitedly. Upon hearing my voice, she jumped a little and slowly turned to see me. What a coincidence, meeting you today! I try to be nice, but it's inevitable not to ask about what happened at the bar. By the way, how are you feeling after? Very sorry! Huh! I walk slowly towards the guild. Belle-san, I still hold her clothes along with her coat. I regret not having been able to help him. Because of my cowardice he was hurt. Perhaps now he is afraid of my family, and says he doesn't want to talk to me again. I don't want to hear him say those words. I'll ask at the guild who his manager is and if I can lend him his clothes. I'm a coward, I'm running away again. I don't dare look for him, I'm afraid of the possibilities of those words. Maybe it's better this way, we're both from different families. I lie to myself again. I can't always depend on others, I'll get stronger at my own pace, although I'm sure you'll surpass me eventually. That's fine. When I see the news of your progress I will smile and support you silently. Yes, maybe we will never speak again, maybe the most we can hope for is to see each other occasionally in the dungeon. It doesn't matter. So it is. Lefiya-san! Huh? Why? Am I hallucinating because I slept badly last night? Belle-san comes running towards me with a smile as she greets me in a friendly manner, as if nothing had happened. He speaks to me calmly, but I don't pay attention to him. I can see small bruises and scratches on his skin on his body. Those wounds must have been caused by bet. Now I feel more guilty for not helping you before. Very sorry! Huh? I bow my body with my apology. I can sense the gazes and whispers of the other adventurers, but I don't care. Lefiya-san, please don't do this. He gently takes me by the shoulders and forces me to look at his face. His gaze was calm. You don't have to apologize for anything. In fact, apologize to me for leaving you alone like that. It's strange, I can't help but laugh a little. Both of us apologizing seems kind of silly to me, but nice. I enjoy these last moments of their company, before we inevitably never see each other like this again. Lefiya-san, is that? She points at my hands. Yes, I was thinking of leaving this at the guild. Thank you so much. I hand him his clothes. He immediately puts on his coat and thanks me once again. Well, I guess it's time for me. Wait, Lefiya-san. He interrupts me. He looked a little shy, I admit. Even though I deeply admire Miss Ace and my heart belongs only to her, I consider Belle-san to be somewhat cute. Could we see each other another time? Huh? I'm confused. Did I hear wrong? It can't be true, or can it? Belle-san is a much more noble human than I thought. Be Belle-san, why you and I could be. I take a small gulp to look him directly in the eyes. Friends? What are you talking about, Lefiya-san? I was a little disappointed. I guess I deserve it for getting my hopes up. There's no way we. I thought we were already friends. We are. I'm happy I made a new friend. By the way, Lefiya-san, Belle timidly continued talking. I don't have much money, but I could invite you to eat some jagamarukan while we talk only if you want. As sure, hee. Silence. I remained like that for a few moments. Belle-san, did you just ask me out on a date? Date? Her face turned completely red. It's not about that. She quickly shook her hands and head in denial. It's just that, well, you're my first friend I've made since I arrived and It was just a little joke, Belle-san, I'm glad he didn't say it with romantic intentions. I only have eyes for Miss Ace. It's what friends do, right? SSI. I'm upset, looking at that damn kid from a distance. I still perfectly remember the words Dionysus-sama gave me right after I reported what happened to him inside the dungeon. You have to keep an eye on him, even more closely from now on. But Dionysus-sama. His smile twisted a little. With just his look he made me fall silent. If Hestia did anything to upset her fauna, she will be sent back to the heavens. I take a glass of wine and pour 2 glasses. They were not to be shared with me. You can go now, Filvis. I'm waiting for someone else's company. I bow my head, my heart aches. I can only say a soft. And as I leave the room and walk down the hall, I see another woman pass by. I don't want to look where she goes after passing by me. I just hear a door open and then close quickly. I don't want to think about that, even knowing that the only door nearby was Dionysus-sama's room. I should have killed you as soon as I had the chance. I whispered without hiding my contempt. After remembering my conversation with Dionysus-sama, I realized that I was not alone. Is he with an elf? I listened to their conversation. Lefiya? Where have I heard that name before? It didn't take long to remember it. The name that boy said before facing all those monsters. Could she be his girlfriend? I look with displeasure at their interactions, the human I hate living together and talking so casually with an elf. I guess I still retain some of my old pride. Faced with what I see, only one phrase comes out of my lips. How unpleasant.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.